these off on purpose?
Yes, we'll turn them off.
Have their half off so we can see the screen.
We're down here.
Welcome, everyone. At 6:02, I will call this meeting to order now that the sound is back off. Okay, we will rise and have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again very much. We'll proceed to item C, the introduction of board members and staff. And once again, we'll start with Trustee Munson and just go down the table to make it easy.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Rebecca Munson, trustee.
Good evening, Sarah Northrop Gaddis, trustee and board clerk.
Happy Friday, Junior. Veronica Andrade, Board Vice President, Trustee.
You get me with that every time. Good evening. Thank you for joining us in the room or online. John Horner, trustee and board president.
Good evening, Carmen Garcia, Superintendent. I'd like to address our Spanish-speaking community. Tenemos traducción simultánea. Por favor, hagan clic en el icono del mundo debajo de la pantalla. Gracias por estar con nosotros.
Good evening, Claudia Estrada, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent.
Good evening, Nancy Altman, and happy Wednesday heavy.
Good evening, buenas noches. Diana Jimenez, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services.
Good evening, Kovera Chang, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana Taveras. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Wonderful. Again, thank you all very much. Move on to item D, adoption of tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Thank you, Trustee Munson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Andrade. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Seeing none, we do have two members absent, so it's a five-person motion. Item E, closed session action report. We have no reportable items from closed session this evening. Item F, public comment and communication. This is for on items not on tonight's agenda. I do see we have two requests for the Measure A item, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Do we have any requests for public comment on non-agendized items? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We move on to we have public comment coming. If you're here for, we have two requests on Measure A.
I wanted to speak on item not on the agenda, that's and then also Measure A, and then the next.
Okay.
What's your name, sir?
Chris Rovell.
So you had a nod on the agenda and Measure A. Okay. Please, Mr. Rovell, please approach the microphone. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes and for items not on the agenda. We can't address them here this evening, but we can listen to what you have to say, as long as they're within the subject matter jurisdiction of the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, board, and good evening. My name is Chris Rovell. I'm a retired CFO and I'm a taxpayer advocate and I'm a resident. And I wanted to bring up two items now on the agenda. I took a look at the 2023-24 actuals as part of the adopted budget for the following year. And I know you can't answer questions now, but maybe somebody wanted to comment. That's fine. The fundamental question I'm asking is the school adequately funded? Is there enough money to do that business and the core mission of academic instruction? And so when I look at this, it says that there's $36.5 million in ending balance reserves for the ending June 30th fiscal year, and relative to $100 million of revenue. And so 36% reserve looks pretty good, right? And then I understand later on the page it shows that there's 21.7 million of a board resolution to commit some of those funds. I don't know what that's for. I'd be very interested to know what that's for. So that leaves 14.8 million. So, I mean, obviously the board resolution could undo that commitment. I don't know what it is if you didn't want to do it, but if there's and the challenge and the financial ability with the community understanding what that's about. So that's one topic, and I know you can't directly address me, but maybe in your conversation, you can think about taxes or whatever. The second topic, now on the agenda, is about the school dashboard, which is from the California School Dashboard, which anybody can Google and look at the results of the district, or the school accountability report card. And it kind of shows the English and math results are in a, I would call, most people would probably consider a troubling category. It's orange on the dashboard, and for both English as well as math. And math is worse. And then the second topic, which I just want to bring up now, is that the facilities look like they are meeting standards. So when we look at things, investments in the future, the facilities, according to this, look like they're meeting standard. English and math academic performance not. So that's my comment on that. We'll come back later. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry? Did you have a report you wanted to make this evening or no? Okay, so we're moving on to communications. We'll have the superintendent report first, and then we'll come back for the student board member report. Are you ready with student board member? Okay, let me rewind. Thank you. We'll have our student board member report from alternate member Rebecca Lattin. Please, Ms. Lattin.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, no, it's a little green button. Oh.
Okay.
There you go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rebecca Lattin, and this is the student report for October 23rd, 2025. So starting off, we're talking about Ann Sobrato High School. Tomorrow, Friday the 24th, is the last day to enter the Halloween drawing contest. So if you want to get your final drawings in, turn those in soon. Also tomorrow, we have the Mock College Fair. This week has been College Week. So if you have any questions about colleges, teachers and staff members will present about their colleges and give you more information about like the university process, admissions, and just looking for different campuses and stuff. I'm not done yet. Okay. It's okay. All right. On November 3rd, our school is hosting a Dia de los Muertos celebration. Anyone is invited to come. There will be food. You can bring pictures for an ofrenda. The Sobrato bands will be performing as well, and I'll be celebrating my birthday. So, on November 7th is the end of the progress report period. So if you have any assignments you need to get in before this next progress report, make sure to get onto that. November 10th is a Student Site Council meeting, and we will not have school on November 11th because it's Veterans Day. Yeah. Okay. For Live Oak High School, tomorrow, Friday the 24th, there's a school site council meeting. On the 27th, there's an evening with the administration in the library. Their fall SAT will be on the 28th. They have a Halloween costume contest on Halloween, Friday. That sounds really fun. Can't wait to see what you guys have. And then on November 4th, there will be a home and school club meeting. For Britain, tomorrow is the Spring Honor Roll Assembly. If you got good grades last semester, let's celebrate your kids, celebrate yourselves. And then November 11th, there's no school. Martin Murphy Middle School, there will be the Halloween dance tomorrow night. That's exciting. School site council meeting on the 30th. Picture retakes on November 4th, and no school on Veterans Day. There's a lot for JAM. Jackson, the fall concert for 6th to 8th graders is tomorrow night. Good job, you guys. There will also be a Pink Out Spirit Day at school. Wear your pink. On Halloween, there will be the Halloween parade and the fun run. Picture Makeup Day will be on November 3rd. There's a school site council meeting on November 4th. There is no school for parent-teacher conferences on November 7th, and then from November 10th to 12th, there will be minimum days for parent-teacher conferences and no school on the 11th. At Nordstrom Elementary, there's the end of the Charleston Wrap fundraiser tomorrow. Get those money in. I don't know. On Halloween, there will be a Lion's Den assembly and the Halloween parade. There's no school on November 7th due to parent-teacher conferences, and then from November 10th to 14th, there will be early release for conferences. Barrett, there will be a trunk or treat hosted by the Home and School Club. That sounds fun. I like treats. Okay, Halloween, they will be having a Halloween parade. And also on Halloween is the last day of Barrett's Wear Storefront. Get that. November 3rd through 6th is Fall Pictures. PA Walsh? Yeah, for PA Walsh, there's also Trunk or Treat. That's making me hungry. Picture retakes on the 27th, and on November 6th, there's dental care at the school. All right. Then lastly, with Paradise Valley, there's the pumpkin display contest. That sounds pretty cool. ELEC and the school site council meeting is on the 29th. Halloween parade on Halloween. November 6th is the end of the first semester. There won't be school on 11/7 due to parent-teacher conferences, and there will also be minimum days from November 10th to the 14th. Oh, El Toro. On the 23rd today, there's Penny Wars. Interesting. Tomorrow, there will be a Boo Bash Trunk or Treat. And then from the 28th to the 31st, they will have a pumpkin decorating and carving contest. Cool. For Los Paseos, photo retakes will be on the 30th, and there will be a Poinciana Orders fundraiser due on the 29th. More for Paradise? November 7th, there will be the Charleston Rap fundraiser that will be ending, so please fundraise to a good cause. San Martin, there will be a costume party and dance tomorrow night. That sounds fun. Or is it in the day? I don't know. I like to dance. October 27th, there will be a parent workshop, Friendships Across Differences. That sounds interesting. I recommend going. And then on November 9th, there will be a Goodwill fundraiser. That's it. All right. Thank you so much.
Wonderfully done. Thank you, Ms. Latin. You're a natural. Great job. Okay. Dr. Garcia, over to you.
Thank you, President Horner. I also believe that alternate student board member Latin is being very modest. Did you talk about the upcoming competitions at Sobrato, the marching band? You want to talk about them?
Do you want me to talk about them?
Yes.
Obviously, yes.
Yes, please do.
So we had competitions past 2 Saturdays. We've gotten first place at both of them. There's a competition this weekend at Cupertino. Senior night for football, marching band, and cheer will be on November 1st. And then Hollister's competitions that next Saturday. The Saturday after that is regionals and then championships in Fresno.
If you have not seen the Sobrato Band and also the Emerald Regime from Live Oak High School in action, you are missing out. She continues to be modest, but Sobrato, you won $7,000 or $8,000.
$8,000.
$8,000 in the most recent competition for Fleet Week, and they did a wonderful news segment on the Sobrato Band. And so go Emerald Regime and go Sobrato Marching Band. Good luck with
Absolutely.
the competition.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a clarifying question, the first place at Fleet Week with all the Bay Area?
Second place.
Okay,
Second place.
wow, okay,
Second place.
congratulations.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
sorry, I'm like really proud. I'm a marching band mom myself. My
Yeah.
oldest is a 9th grader. But it was Pittsburgh, right? That won first
Pittsburgh,
place.
yeah.
But Pittsburgh has like 250 members in their marching band. So goals for our marching band for sure. We have about 60 for the Sobrato band.
Yes, 60.
About 60, yeah.
About 60.
So nowhere but up to go from here. But again, I highly encourage you to attend these competitions. Our students are phenomenal. And Rebecca is outstanding. I'm delighted to share with you just a few highlights from the past 2 weeks. We celebrated last week the week of the school administrator, and so what I'm showing here, you hear our principals and assistant principals who are fearless leaders leading all of our schools across 14 campuses, 8,000 students. I'm incredibly proud of our administrators who are very collaborative and ensure that we encourage the community to be involved in our school system, as well as create conditions in our classrooms that transform experiences. So thank you, school administrators. We also one of our partnerships is through South County Heals. And so we have promotoras that are paid for by South County Heals, and they held a face painting in honor of the Day of the Dead. And so I wish I could zoom in, but they taught the parents and the students how to draw calaveras on your faces, and so that's lovely. Also participated, there were 5 of us on the dais who participated on the at the FFA Future Farmers of America opening and closing public speaking contest. Phenomenal. You see the 4 different schools represented by row. I'll start from the end. The end was Cupertino. They were pretty impressive. I think they won first. Campbell, thank you. I think they won first place. Followed by Gilroy, followed by Morgan Hill, and at the, followed by Hollister, and then in the front row is Morgan Hill. This was the Live Oak. The Live Oak, yes.
And Sobrato were both there.
But in this competition, it was just Live Oak. Yeah. Yeah, we had the freshman class. Yeah, so this was a freshman class. Anyway, impressive students. Again, I'm going to invite the members of the community to participate. Thank you to our teachers who are leading these efforts and our students who are most impressive. I mean, it's almost like you saw with Rebecca, let's get out of her way, right? And then we'll follow our students. Delighted to showcase our students in action. So we conducted some school visits. Here are Paradise Valley and Barrett. And I absolutely I try to do as many candid pictures as possible, but these are Walsh students. And we believe in Morgan Hill Unified that every adult has to be a trusted adult for our students. And so you see Mr. Steve. He's a campus supervisor at Walsh, and he is missed desperately and sorely by Britain. See the students that are doing like little bunny ears. He connects with our students. I wish I could have 800 Mr. Steves. He is quite outstanding. So I thank him for everything that he does. We had a benefits health fair. We made it available to all of our employees in Morgan Hill Unified. And so I don't know what the total number, but there were many who came through our benefits health fair. I also participated at the LATI. LATI stands for Living Above the Influence Resource Fair. Glad to have welcomed all of the participants. Also, we participated this week with a much anticipated upgrades to the Britain Gym, thanks to Measure G. We are deeply thankful to our voters who passed Measure G, who made the complete transformation of the gym as well as the entire Britain campus a reality. So thank you, voters in Morgan Hill. I was not at the Live Oak Awards Assembly that was today, and I feel awful for having missed it. But here are some snapshots from the awards assembly. So congratulations to all of our awardees at Live Oak. I missed it because I was presenting at Educators Day, and this is done on an annual basis, and it's by the Santa Clara County Superior Court, where various districts and various educators in the county convene to discuss ways we can continue to support our students. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garcia. Now, I believe from our employee groups, we only have one group wishing to report tonight, the Morgan Hill Federation of Teachers, Mr. Kyuan Yan.
Hi there, everyone.
And team.
And team. So I just want to point out something. It's weird, and then hopefully Rebecca can also say this too, but like the FFA thing, the Live Oak team is called the Morgan Hill chapter, and then the Ann Sobrato is called the Ann Sobrato chapter. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. I've always noticed that. I thought it was interesting.
And it's because it was like the FFA chapter at Live Oak was created first, but I don't know why. Anyway, sorry.
It's off agenda, but I also found out there's in the Central Valley a school called Live Oak that has a Live Oak FFA.
Yeah,
so that's another.
I thought it was because it was the Live Oak was first, so.
I'm putting on my president cap, so I can't say that.
Sorry, I took us off agenda. My apologies, sir.
Sorry. Good evening, board trustees, executive cabinet, and community members. My name is QA Nguyen, and I'm honored to be the elected president of the Morgan Hill Federation of Teachers. As I stated in my last time at the microphone, MHF team members will be providing their feedback on the contract articles that will open this year at each upcoming board meeting. I'm excited for you to hear the first speech and see the first presentation focusing on Article 9, Health and Welfare Benefits. Sharing their site members' input, you will first hear from San Martin Gwen's site representatives, Alyssa Nekorotic. Oh, not yet. Not the slide deck yet, yeah. But you're gonna hear first from San Martin Gwen's site representatives, Alyssa Nekorotic and Cecilia Robbins, and then you will see the presentation from Murphy's site representatives, Eileen Resnick and Rosemary Thompson. So Alyssa and Cecilia, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hello. Can everyone hear me? Excellent. Good evening, members of the board, district leadership, and the MHUSD community. My name is Alyssa Nekoronik, and I'm a middle school teacher at San Martin Gwen. I'm here tonight as both a teacher and a union representative to share feedback from my colleagues about our health and welfare benefits. First, I would like to thank the district for offering a health benefits fair where our staff were able to ask questions, compare options, and get help navigating their coverage. Many of our members found that event genuinely helpful for making informed choices, and it's the strength of our benefits program that deserves recognition. Furthermore, the feedback I've consistently heard from the members at my school is clear. The current district contribution levels no longer keep pace with the rising cost of health insurance. Currently, the employer contribution works reasonably well for employees with individual coverage. However, for those with family plans, the situation is much more difficult. Many of our members pay a significant amount out of pocket each month just to ensure that their families are covered. These costs have continued to rise while the district's contribution has stayed the same. We're asking the district to consider increasing its contribution across all plan options so that employees with family coverage are not placed under such heavy financial strain. My coworkers understand that the district is not able to control or manage healthcare costs. However, the majority of members would benefit from an increase in the district contribution. While some of the staff at my school have also let me know that they would value an increase in the monthly employer contribution to pay health benefits over a salary increase, I understand that this is not what the Federation negotiation survey's results have said for the past several years. Therefore, if the district truly has a goal of hiring and retaining qualified employees, they should find a way to increase benefit contributions without having to forego salary schedule increases, especially considering the cost of living in this area, the overall compensation packages of our neighboring districts, and the minimal raise of 0.5% for both 2023 to 2024 and 2025 to 2026. Our staff members care deeply about their work and this community. Ensuring that they and their families have access to affordable health care is one of the best ways the district can continue to support and retain its dedicated employees. Finally, when employees feel confident that their health coverage is both affordable and adequate for their families, they can fully focus on serving our students, rather than constantly worrying about insurance cost burdens. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this feedback.
Thank you, Alyssa and Cecilia. And now we have Eileen and Rosemary.
Good evening, everybody, board members. Nice to see you. We're from Martin Murphy, and ours is very short and sweet and very much to the point. So we took a survey at Martin Murphy, and we have input on health and benefits from our Murphy staff.
Evening, board members and superintendent. We took, as she said, we took a survey. There were many different comments. We kind of boiled it down to these 4 topics. Teachers want to feel valued. That's not to infer that we aren't valued. It's just, as our colleagues from San Martin Gwen said, 0.5 doesn't come across as, yeah, you've done all this hard work, you know, here is your compensation for that. So that may be where that member's idea was coming from. A raise means little when our take-home pay goes down, and this has to do with the fact that, as our colleague stated, healthcare costs keep rising. What a time to talk about healthcare costs with everything going on in the world, right? So, you know, the copay requirements, what insurance companies are charging us just so we can try and maintain our health. Second, can we afford to be ill? Now, being able to afford to be ill isn't just monetary. In recent research, it has been concluded that there are basically the top 3 professions where being ill is a high concern. Of course, healthcare workers, because they're dealing with people who are ill. Number 2, teachers. Number 3, those who work with animals. Okay, so they're the 3 professions that deal with, pathogens and germs and things the most. Now, the other part of this affordability is that it's a cost to the district when teachers are getting sick and you're having to call in substitutes. And again, it's not necessarily monetary, but it is a detriment to the highly qualified and intensive instruction that, of course, our district wants to give our students. Lastly, it's coming down to a choice between rent and healthcare. If you've got to have a place to live, you're going to put your funds towards that. And that creates a vicious cycle of, oh, okay, if I can't be well, then I can't go to my job, but then I can't have the rent, and so on and so forth.
Tagging on to what our colleagues from SMG said, Morgan Hill Federation of Teacher members have previously made the choice to put all monetary increases towards salary. However, our salary increases are not commensurate with both the cost of living and increasing insurance premiums. I just want to say one thing. When I first started with this district 14 years ago, I could not afford to insure my children. I could only afford to insure myself. And since they were young enough, I was able to get some kind of benefits from the county to get medical care for my children. And this goes towards families who cannot afford to pay all their healthcare costs with what we are getting from the district.
And to wrap up our Murphy presentation, the desire to keep highly qualified teachers in the classrooms depends on whether a person can ensure that their overall compensation package will cover the cost of living here in Silicon Valley. That is a primary concern. So hopefully that there will be discussion in the future that will help us continue to help the district provide that high quality and intensive instruction to all of our students with well bodies. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen and Rosemary. I have additional feedback from membership team members. Don't leave me yet. Okay, great. Okay. So I have additional feedback from MHF team members at other sites, includes the following. There's only one high deductible, high premium Kaiser plan that the current monthly employer contribution for certificate employees will cover for a single employee themselves. All other plan options the employee must pay out of pocket for, with those payments being at least over $50 and up to well over $100. And all certificate employees choosing employee plus one or employee plus two or more plans are paying over $100 and up to over $550 a month out of pocket. This is monthly, and this is out of their hard-earned paychecks. And this doesn't even include the addition of dental and vision plans. I'm only speaking about medical. This is problematic. Members who are single parents can barely keep up with out-of-pocket costs, as well as families who are just starting out are feeling the weight of the cost of healthcare. Some even report that 40% of their pay is going towards their healthcare due to them covering not only themselves, but their dependents under high premiums, high copays, and high out-of-pocket expenses. Members feel like due to these costs, they are pigeonholed into choosing one provider over another due to its affordability rather than level of care. Educators shouldn't have to choose between adequate healthcare or financial hardship. Additionally, I want to note that the transition to Viva had some members with certain plans dealing with frustrating, cumbersome, and unreliable customer service. Many did not receive their benefit cards until mid-February last school year, putting the onus on them to reach out to their insurance carriers to get insurance IDs for coverage. I want to say, though, union presidents of many different districts throughout the state have also expressed their concerns about the rising cost of healthcare plans after COVID. And we certainly are seeing the same here in Morgan Hill. And I want to reiterate a point made by both Alyssa, Cecilia, Eileen, and Rosemary. While some members would support an increase in the employer contribution to benefits over an increase in the salary schedule percentage, the negotiations process in recent years finds our dedicated educators having to make a decision between either one or the other or a combination of the two. Gone are the days of the district automatically acknowledging and accounting for the undeniable impact of the rising cost of benefits on their employees, as used to be the case. Therefore, Federation surveys are forced to now include questions for our members to rank their priorities: pay, benefits, working conditions, etc. It would be wonderful if the district included cost of living increases as an automatic contribution in order to hire and retain effective educators. Splitting a 0.5% financial contribution from the district over the last 2 school years between salary and benefits is just not feasible. Compassionate conversations regarding health and welfare benefits should be a top priority for the upcoming round of negotiations. On another note, there's a lot of information at this themed study session that is touched upon that would affect the employees of the district in different ways. I remember when I was a new teacher here that the topic of workforce housing was also brought up then. The idea was presented without stakeholder and educational opportunities involvement or collaboration, which is one of the reasons why it was not successful in moving forward. While I am eager to learn about the various topics included in this evening's presentation and support the exploration of them, I reiterate the expectation that such efforts as a bond and parcel tax measure, workforce housing, and any others that would impact the Morgan Hill Federation of Teachers should be in collaboration with us. I look forward to this occurring. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Yeah, it has nothing to do
sorry?
with this. I just figure we need a warm fuzzy after, talking about this subject. And Ronnie Pardes Jasso was one of my students at Martin Murphy, a long time ago, obviously. And so having his name, not that, I don't appreciate your presentation, but I don't know you. Oh, good.
I went to Murphy.
That, it's the culmination of a teacher's career to see their students move forward into leadership positions. So I'm having a proud moment right now.
Yeah, I love this person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just say, please pay close attention to the rest of the topics tonight. They're very on point with everything you all brought up. And this is the beginning of those conversations, not the end. So I hope you all can continue.
Unfortunately, I have to work tomorrow.
No, I understand. I understand. Thank you all for being here and for sharing that information.
Great to see you, Ms. Resnick.
All right, we'll move on. Do we have any board member reports? Trustee Northrop Gaddis or Clerk Northrop Gaddis.
Thank you. I attended the personnel meeting last night, and it looks like there is a low number of vacancies right now, so they're doing a great job hiring classified positions. There is a Personnel Commission conference coming up, so they are talking about whether or not they'll be attending. They're continuing their review of rules and regs, and they're going to be having a presidential election at their November meeting. And they'll make their presentation for us in December.
Very good. Thank you very much. Trustee Altman, please.
Last week, I attended the Workforce Housing Boot Camp at the County Office of Education. And when I get the email, I'll share it with you, the slides from the presentation. Very interesting. It can be a zero-sum situation and help our teachers, but it's something that absolutely needs to be discussed. It's not, no decisions have been made, but I did want to learn what was involved in workforce housing. Went to the FFA opening and closing ceremony contest, and I just want to give the Future Farmers of America a shout out for their really excellent leadership program. And at one point, 3 administrators in the school district had all been ag teachers and had gone through FFA. I was one of the 3. And it's no coincidence that people who go through that program, it's not just about ag, that the leadership skills learned there are just invaluable. And I also might need some coverage, asking my colleagues for Monday night for the NEST meeting, the Special Ed Advisory Committee, which is called NEST. I might be in the air at the time. So if anyone's available, I think it's Monday evening. Let me check my calendar. Please let me know.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude your report? Anything else over here? Just swiveling my neck. Did you have something? Sure, follow-up question.
It's not NEST, it's Safety Committee.
Okay. It's about the workforce or housing. What is it? Workforce housing, whatever it is. I had a question. Did they happen to mention what percentage of housing goes to teachers?
That it really is dependent on how it's funded and what the choices are, but in prima child situations, it's the vast majority. And there's, depending on the funding, again, there's laws that prohibit districts from renting out to general public and just turning it into a let's build cheap housing and then capitalize on it. So, and I'm hoping we'll learn about that possibly tonight. Otherwise, I'll share the slides. I'll share the slides with Mrs. Strada, and then she can push them out to everyone.
Okay.
When I get them. And it's a 4:00 meeting for the Safety Committee is where I need coverage.
What day?
Monday. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll be getting into the workforce housing topic a little later. There are many, many options.
I was just curious. She went to the training, so.
I'm sorry? Yes.
Okay.
Next up to our Vice President.
I just wanted to echo Trustee Altman's sentiments about FFA. I was also a judge, and it was, I feel like it was a full circle moment because I am going to admit something right now. I graduated from Hollister High School, and so it was I was feeling some sort of way being at Live Oak, seeing my alma mater there. But it was great. The students were great. The advisors, the teachers, it just a strong, robust program. And, when I think about public education and the work that we do, that it was just it was like a visual reminder, like this is why we do what we do. The students were just incredible, young adults, and it really is an incredible program. And I would encourage members of the public to get involved in becoming judges in the programs. So, thank you.
Anything else to report? You're on board member reports. Anything?
I think that's it.
That's it. Okay, very good.
Do you know something I don't know?
No. I'm just.
Somewhere I forgot.
I don't keep track of everywhere you've been. Okay, I'll give my report then. So this morning I was fortunate to be at the Live Oak Awards Assembly for these academic awards for students from last spring's work. Well over 400 students having GPAs of 3.0 and higher. Just wonderful to be there as part of the, congratulate them and their teachers and support and families on all that hard work. And I think part of why they were there, they also then, if their parents were there, got to go home with the parents for lunch and have a little bit of an early release. So not sure if they were more excited to get the award or to, but at least they were glad to still be with their parents. So that's a good thing at high school as well. Really, really fun to be there on behalf of the board, recognizing and shaking a lot of hands. Also, won't repeat about the FFA event other than say I was there as well. That's amazing. Great kids, great advisors. It's amazing. And we also, I think Dr. Garcia reported we had a ribbon cutting for the renovation at the Britton Gym, the former Live Oak Gym the Jim Green Gym. Yeah, he hates it when we call it the Gym, so we'll call it the Gym. But that was just really a wonderful celebration, and the long history of that space, the many things that have occurred in there, the competitions, the awards, the dances, the celebrations. Probably some heartache, disappointment, all there, but so it has a bright new interior, a new face, but an old soul, and it was just really wonderful to be there. And then I'll also report on the work of our County School Board Association Legislative Action Committee. We're continue to be engaged with legislators everywhere, and some of the topics that we continue pressing on are very salient to what we heard from our union. In California, districts like ours, so-called ADA-funded districts, are funded by a state formula. So how much money we're going to get primarily depends on decisions they make 3 times a year. They don't just make it once. And one of the things that's not in there is any cost of living adjustment. So the dollars per student we get is the same as Bakersfield or Fresno. And we all know actually living here is more expensive than living in Bakersfield or Fresno. So just kind of baked into the system at the state level is something that's fundamentally inequitable and unfair. Another thing we've been doing a lot of long-term advocacy on, baked into the system, is school districts that have lots of property tax revenue and relatively few students, Palo Alto, Los Altos, some of them have double the funding per student that we have, and yet we all, anyhow, so that's just an ongoing issue. We're pressing on that. We made some, a lot of people in the legislature say, yeah, that's a problem, but actually fixing it is a whole nother kettle of fish. And over the last 20 years, the gap used to be 30% between the highest funded and districts like ours, and now it's moved to double. So the gap is actually exacerbating. And then the other thing, in talking with the CSBA, the California School Board Association, Chris Reef, kind of their chief lobbyist, he said, all the work we do in Sacramento, we're trying to protect the minimums, but we recognize it's not actually enough to do the work. So it's a really difficult system. We find ourselves stuck in the middle of both, union leadership, boards, whatever. But so we have to, not only have the conversations we have amongst ourselves, we have serious advocacy conversations we have to have with the people making decisions at various levels. And then also with our community about what can we do to fill that in. So that's some of the ongoing work at the Ledge Action Committee. And that concludes my report. Did I miss anyone for board reports? Okay, very good then. We will, the calendar of upcoming events is published and posted for a board member thing, so I'm not going to read it off to you. I'll move on to H1, consider adopting a resolution in support of Santa Clara County Measure A. We have, I believe, 2 requests for public comment on this item. So invite Greg Filios. Did I say that correctly? Yep. Okay. Please. Go first? Please come up to the microphone, and you have up to 3 minutes. Thank you for joining us. Sorry?
You don't have the timer on, huh?
Oh, no, it's just
okay.
old school. Well, iPhone old school.
This is great. My name is Greg Filios. I'll give you 3 minutes. I'm from Gilroy. I've presented I'm very active in the Gilroy Unified School District. I go to all the meetings and I provide public comment. Most often, I'm the only public, so I'm representing the whole public with my comments.
All 50,000.
Yeah, okay. Dan, thank you for the opportunity. I'm gonna do the same thing here today. Thank you for the opportunity for providing a comment on Measure A. When I presented my view to the Gilroy Unified School District, fortunately, they came through with a resolution that you guys are discussing tonight. Last Thursday, Gilroy passed a resolution unanimously supporting Measure A. I would love to see this school district also do the same. That says something too. When a school district who are open to the public is supporting an issue like this, you got to figure this is an important issue. When these educators who are taking care, who are providing a special service to all these kids, are openly supporting this, that says something. And I hope the same thing. And the reason I gave is, being that you want to provide the most optimal environment for the school community. And presenting an optimal environment means healthy students, healthy teachers, healthy staff. If these people don't have the opportunity to get the health care that they need, this is not an unhealthy environment. This is not a healthy environment for the school. I would like to say that we don't have time to talk about how much time do I have? 1 minute? I wish I. Anyway.
You have about a minute left.
Okay. So again, being that you guys are caring individuals, you're honorable public servants, this is something that is, there's 45,000, the last census data says there's 45,000, the population of Morgan Hill is 45,000. 23% utilized Medicare or Medi-Cal, which is the California version of Medicaid for for low-income disabled children. Not having that, this is not normal. This is not normal times to have the funding cut to our healthcare services. Oh yeah, well, this is a tax. Yes, under normal circumstances, most people would say, most people would not agree with the tax, but this is not normal circumstances. This is important. We were fortunate that the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors put this measure on the ballot to counteract the tremendous defunding of proper healthcare services. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Well, thank you for visiting, neighbor. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you, Board. Chris Robel. So I'm here tonight to kind of urge you as trustees to remain nonpartisan and not to endorse Measure A. Public education is supposed to be neutral and inclusive, not a platform for political endorsements, especially when the measure in question has nothing to do with schools and sends money to the county's general fund. And this is an important point. The money can be spent and will be spent on anything. Measure A is going to raise the county tax rate to nearly 10%. And the next year, we're going to have another tax rate on the ballot, in case you don't know, for the BART and MTC of 0.5% also. So we're going to be approaching 11%. These sales taxes are regressive. They hurt the people, the working families, more than anybody. The people who are talking about housing, it's going to raise your cost of housing, right? Because you're not going to have money anyway. So it's a regressive tax that hurts working families and those on fixed incomes. And the ballot language and the campaign ads claiming that it's about saving healthcare. These are just all the ads I got in my mailbox. It's insane. More than $1 million has been spent. 4 of these flyers are from the county, not the campaign committee. So $1 million just spent trying to convince us this is a great thing for us. Thou doth protest too much. So it's a scare tactic. The truth is this is a general tax. The legal requirement is that there's no legal requirement that it goes, one dime goes to hospitals or healthcare. It can be spent on salaries, pensions, trips to Hawaii, pet projects, whatever the Board of Supervisors decides. If the county wanted to fund truly just hospitals, they could have proposed a dedicated healthcare tax that requires a 2/3 vote. They didn't because they want flexibility to spend however they want. The county's own record of fiscal mismanagement, which to me this is the main point, speaks volumes. The hospital system that they lost last year, they lost $600 million. Then they acquired Regional Medical, which I don't know how much they're losing, so they're losing more. And then, of course, they're losing funding from the federal government. So the shortfall is massive. This $320 million that it's going to raise isn't going to even make a dent in what's needed. So the sales tax is not the way to do it. So even though they lost last year $600 million, they bought another hospital this year instead of fixing what they should have broken first. What does the county spend money on? They spent $76 million on hero bonuses for their employees during COVID. Should have gone to small businesses that were shut down. They have $5 million in employee parking perks for valet. They have 25 people making over $900,000 a year. Check out Transparent California. The county manager, James Williams, makes $670,000 a year. And they're telling residents that they must pay more for health care. Bogus. Measure A has no oversight, no guarantees, no accountability. I was vice chair of a bond oversight committee. I know what the quote unquote oversight's like, and I've read, anyway, it's another story about your oversight. Let's be honest, they say this is temporary. I promise you, I'll bet anybody this is not temporary. When this expires, they're going to say, oh, it won't, without raising taxes, they're going to do another one. It's going to be permanent.
Okay, thank you.
So
Please
before
wrap
they
up.
take a stance, please, it's inappropriate for a school body whose duty to focus on education and not on partisan politics. Thank you.
Thank you for taking your time to speak with us. I believe that concludes public comment. Yes, okay. So now move on to our consideration of item H1. Most of the items that come before the board are brought to us by staff. This one is not. This is a board, so I will, as board president, introduce it. This is, on the initiation of Trustee Altman, and I concur with. We had a discussion last time. Do we want to consider this? So that's how it ended up here. So I looked at the Gilroy and some other models, drafted the proposed resolution you have in front of you. So that's where it came from. Just to be clear, this wasn't staff time or staff work. And with that said, I will invite Trustee Altman to speak to the item first, as it was at her request.
Thank you. President Horner. In our board policy, policy 0000, for those of you who haven't read it, it states about a sentence in that we'll focus on the achievement and well-being of all students. And achievement is really based on student health, and well-being is based on health. Over 40% of our students qualify as socioeconomically disadvantaged. And just my experience as a teacher, the county health system was the only option for, in my case, the majority of my students. I didn't have a typical student population, but just for me as a teacher, if my students didn't have access to healthcare, and I heard, when you have a student with ADHD and what the families had to go through with the old clinic in San Martin and the improvements in it, definitely saw an improvement in treatments for our students who had medical needs yet didn't have the financial resources to have private insurance. Switching documents now. So I do feel it is a board issue because it will impact how well our students perform and also the general well-being of our students for whom we are responsible. For the 62.5 cents per $100 spent, I'm okay with that personally. And the law itself, the measure itself says that there will be independent audits and oversight so that to help assure that the funds will be used appropriately. So for those reasons mainly, and this is, I have a gazillion other talking points on Measure A. I am focusing strictly on us as a school board, not the general pros and cons of Measure A. How will it impact our students? And for this reason, I am in favor of having a resolution in support.
Thank you, Trustee Altman. Yeah, I'll add a few words and then go to my colleagues here who would like. I don't like paying for things with sales taxes, but that is really the alternative that's available here in the short term. I know that in the work I do, it's interesting with lots of school board members from lots of other places. We in many ways are the representatives of the children and families of our communities. We do that through an educational focus and lens, but we are the only elected body that spends all of our time concerning ourselves with the question, how do we, and we know we've gone way beyond, what shows up on standardized tests. We talk about marching band, awesome, not on standardized. I love it. So all the things that are often called extras are really essential. And we also know that our students can only do both their school work and their school fun, which is important work as well, on a base of family health. I know here in South County, I was the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce here in Morgan Hill when St. Louis and DePaul Medical Center were, pushed into bankruptcy by the hedge fund that owned them at the time. And I will forever be grateful, even though I happen to use Kaiser, so I don't personally go to those facilities very much, but forever be grateful that our county stepped up and took on ensuring that medical services are available here in South County, much of which they do with the Medicare and Medicaid funding that comes from the federal government and through the state. And I wish it was, more direct. I'll also comment that as a state, our individuals and businesses send somewhere between $100 and $200 billion more to the federal government than we get back in all the various things. So we're a huge donor state to the rest of the country. Much of the rest of the country likes to make fun of us and say and accuse us of wasting money, but we're actually when you drive through certain places and admire the great federal highways, they should be saying thank you because we're often the ones paying for a lot of that. But anyhow, it's essential to continue supporting the children and families in our community. I'm very much in favor of this. Don't know where everybody else is at about it because of the Brown Act, but I'll open it for other questions or comments. Vice President, please.
Yeah, we'll go down. So Measure A, I'm very fortunate to have an amazing healthcare plan in which I pay very little for. And as a privileged person, I recognize that our kids, our families don't have that. And even though this is not going to impact me in any way other than fiscally, and I'm more, this is an economic issue on our school district. There was should school districts get involved in political decisions? Well, we're all elected officials. Every decision, as public servants, every decision we make is political. So that's, outside of that, but this is an economic decision. Sick kids don't go to school. Sick kids cost us money ADA-wise. Sick kids or healthy kids who have to take care of sick parents and sick siblings miss school. That's gonna cost us money already at this time. And this is a moral issue. Do we care about our children? Do we love our children? I'm not talking about our biological children. I'm talking about not just beyond our neighbors, right? I don't have children in public school anymore, but that doesn't mean I don't care about the other ones. And so for me, this is, it's a non-negotiable in terms of, this is a school issue because it directly impacts 40% of our families. And so, do we love our kids? Do we care about our kids? And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Other dialogue, questions, comments? Trustee Gardner, please.
Okay, so, wow, I guess you just redefined public education as being partisan versus nonpartisan, which I truly, as both a constituent and elected member here, I struggle with that. That concerns me. So with regards to the hospitals, as was stated earlier in public comment, the hospitals, excuse me a second, I'm pretty upset right now. Our county hospitals, there's definitely a need for county hospitals, for sure. Absolutely, positively agree with that. But they're mismanaged. So for us to throw good money after bad money is, in my opinion, ludicrous. The hospitals, they're bleeding money. They've been losing money every single year. To date, about $1 billion have already been taken from taxpayers. From you, 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 from me, from you, from all of us. Just to fill the holes they've created in the hospital system. To cover those losses, they've cut money from public safety, from family, senior, and children's services, and from housing, all to plug the gap in a system they mismanaged. This year's deficit is $600 million. They project it will grow to 1.5 to 3 billion within the next 5 to 10 years. And that's before the federal funding cuts kick in. So the real question isn't just about raising the sales tax. No bail, in my opinion, again, if we're getting into politics, which I don't feel this is, I feel public education should be and has always been defined as nonpartisan, and I don't believe that this belongs on our agenda. But if we're going to get into politics, my opinion is we need reform, not another tax hike. And I say this with deep respect for the doctors, for the nurses, for emergency workers. I was just in the emergency room, ER, county hospital in July. Thank God for them. I went to one of the other, Good Sam first, they didn't take me seriously. Then I went to the county one, they took me seriously, and they did what needed to be done, and thank God, because I almost choked to death. Okay, so I'm thankful for the county hospitals, but they need to be ran better. If we keep letting the county leaders run our hospital system into the ground, it's not just the hospitals that will go bankrupt. The entire county could go bankrupt. And the truth behind the numbers is the hospital costs have nearly tripled. And even worse, the county leaders have not been honest with us. They claim this tax is necessary because the hospitals are losing money. But it doesn't have to be that way. Look at El Camino Hospital. They're right in the same county. It's funded by a 1% property tax, and it runs a surplus of $130 million a year. So it can be done. Hospitals can run efficiently. Yet Santa Clara County now spends 55% of its entire budget on healthcare. We've practically become a healthcare district. Other counties, Alameda, San Diego, Los Angeles, spend only around 25%. We're spending twice as much money as they are. And when you compare cost per resident, Santa Clara County spends 3 times more per person than LA County. So please, let that sink in. In 2023, according to data from the State Controller's Office, Santa Clara County spent $5,046 per resident, at least 19% more than any other of the 9 California counties with at least 1 million residents, and more than double San Diego, Orange, Alameda, and Fresno counties. So again, if we're going to make this politics, which I don't believe is our right or what we should be doing at all. This is a nonpartisan, public education is a nonpartisan institution. Before asking residents for more tax money, county officials should find a way to spend what they have already more efficiently.
So I want to clarify that, sorry, so that's not what I said, actually. I said this was a political decision. If we were going to be partisan and talk about partisan politics, then we'd be talking about other things that are on the ballot, which we're not doing. This, Trustee Altman was very clear that we're talking about Measure A because this directly impacts students. I appreciate the numbers. I'm not an accountant. I appreciate those numbers, but again, this is a moral issue for me. This is an economic issue because sick kids don't go to school. And so I appreciate the numbers and I want to be really clear. You're talking about politics and partisan. That's not the intention here and that's not what I said.
Well, guess who drafted Measure A?
I don't care who drafted Measure A. I care about sick children. And so let me just ask you this. I appreciate that you went to county hospital. Has anyone ever on this panel ever had to rely on the county system? Rely. Meaning that you did not have medical insurance. Because when I was a substitute for Morgan Hill Unified over 20 years ago, I did have to rely on that. There is an incredible stressor on you when you do not have adequate health insurance. And I know it may not be your problem, but I believe that we are a village. I believe that we are a community, and it is my problem because those are our kids. And so when we're talking about, I may not ever go to Valley, right? I may not have to utilize that system because I have a PPO. Great for me. And I wish thee had it, but that's not the case. This is about, again, the incredible amount of stress when you cannot go to a doctor when you're sick. It is something that I would never wish upon anybody.
But
ever.
But they can go to the hospital. I did it myself in July.
When you are reliant on that system, it is a different beast. And all we're doing is, let's not forget, we're in this situation because of political decisions, right? So again, Measure A, this is going to impact 40% of our families.
Thank you. I mean, clearly passions run high. I have many as well. I'm not going to go there personally. I'm not being critical to it. But our student board member, were you reaching for your microphone? Did you want to have something to say on this?
Yeah, it's I understand that things are tense right now, and I'm a kid.
Is your mic on?
It is.
Okay, good.
I'm just a little far away.
Great. You're doing great. Thank you.
Thanks. I want to offer my perspective on things a little bit as a student.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. I represent the entire student body of over 8,000 kids. And I believe that talking about my experience as a kid who has struggled with health issues my entire life, and I've been fortunate enough to have good insurance my entire life. I've been in and out of the hospital since I was a kid. Even last year, I was in the hospital for a week, and that last hospital visit costed my family, costed insurance over $40,000. There are so many kids that I know, so many kids in this district who do not have opportunities to healthcare like this. And I'm so fortunate to be in the situation I am right now, because if I didn't have the insurance and the financial support that I have right now, I would have been dead a long time ago. And I believe that everybody should have a right to healthcare, no matter what your financial situation is, no matter where you are. And the fact that our government is trying to cut so many important healthcare systems that help our students our colleagues that are struggling. It's important, and I understand that like this is a hard discussion because it's very much deeply like enrooted in politics, but I believe that the concerns of students is what should be most important right now. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing some of your story and your views. Do we have anything additional before we call for a motion? Trustee Munson.
Okay. I know it's a little heated.
This is just me.
It's passion. It's just passion.
Yeah. No, and that's fine. And we have strong opinions and views about things. And I guess the way I look at it, I mean, I've heard you, Pamela, I've heard, both sides of the argument. And I look at it as, this is more like, I don't know, I care very much about the students and the healthcare, yes. So that's why I'm trying to take a broader view, not so narrow. Yes, it's helping them right this moment in this second, but what's gonna happen later on when we do not force the healthcare system to reform what they're doing or what, they are doing. So it's a Band-Aid, and I don't want anyone to be without healthcare. Absolutely not. I mean, they need it. I'm a teacher. I see it in the classroom. It's very, very important. But if we're really focused on this one moment right now, but what about the broader sense of the thing, right? When we are spending, we spend the county spends 55% of their budget on healthcare. So, I don't want to get into all of that, right? I can try to make my case. I just think that it's a bigger issue. And I don't know that I can support something that is so narrow when there's so much that needs to be fixed. It's not that I don't care about kids, because I do. I love them, and it is a moral issue, and they need it, and they will get it. But, $330 million is not going to fix the problem, right? It's just not going to fix it. They're running in debt $600 million this year. And so going forward, it's just a huger issue, but I feel my part in this is to look at it from a broader perspective, not on an issue to issue, this side to this side. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be reformed. And so that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Trustee Altman, and then I'll give you the response and then call for a motion, and we'll see where we're at.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm looking for a Band-Aid right now. I'll admit it. And that's why I wanted to keep it focused on our responsibility to our students. I'm not going to argue, is this the best we can do or whatever. I'm looking at what can help our students as more challenges are being faced by the families. So that's where, it's not perfect. It's only replacing about a third of what's being cut. But we, do you want to say someone's hemorrhaging? Let's fix the issue rather than let's address the immediate need and then work towards a fix for everything. There's a lot of things that need to be reformed. Right now, I think our community, our county needs a Band-Aid to help maintain healthcare for our students.
Okay, well, I think the full range of views is on the table. Would you like to make a motion, Trustee Altman?
I move that we adopt a resolution in support of Measure A.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Andrade. Student Board Member, your view?
Aye.
Thank you. Aye, okay, I guess it's not going to be unanimous, so let's have a roll call, please.
Where would you like to start, John?
Trustee Munson.
Nay.
Trustee Sarah Northwood Gaddis.
Aye.
Vice President Veronica Andrade.
Aye.
President Horner.
Aye.
Trustee Altman.
Aye.
Trustee Gardner.
Nay.
Okay, that passes 5-2 with one member absent. I'm sorry, 4-2. Bad math. 4-2 with one member absent. Okay, So it's 7:10. Our next item is a theme study session in 3 parts. Maybe before we usually I wouldn't take a break till about 7:30, but let's take a quick stretch break here. Maybe we can get through try and do about every 90 minutes for a break, but let's see if we can do the second item in 90 minutes. So first up will be comprehensive energy plan. So it's 7:11. Let's try and be back by about 7:16. Thank you.
partner in running the RFP for the consultant that would be helping us to develop and implement the energy savings plan. So with that, Mr. Smith?
Good evening. President Horner, Superintendent.
Yes. Light screen.
Light screen? Need to talk closer? No.
Maybe, oh, hold on, back at the control central there. We do. Try now.
Hello, hello.
There we go. There we go.
All
I can hear
right.
you now, and I'm not with Verizon.
All right. Good evening, board and staff. I'm Curtis Schmidt with ARC Alternatives. We're an independent consultant working for the district as your district representative, kind of your owner's rep. That's how all the work that we do. We do a lot of work with public agencies in that manner. So, we have our presentation. There we go. All right. I'm here to talk to you about the Comprehensive Energy Savings Project and the procurement that we helped the district run to ultimately select the folks that will talk next. So, next slide, please. Background, we believe that the board is fairly familiar with the energy plan and has had a long interest in solar. And it gave a direction to find a more comprehensive energy project than just solar. So we, with a near-term goal of general fund savings, not just the biggest project that we could get. So we released a RFP, or RFQ rather, for request for qualifications in March, and asked for qualifications of a design-build firm. We've put it out as a focus on solar as the driving measure, but add energy and water efficiency measures that make the project more cost-effective. Next slide. The RFQ was sent out to 18 ESCOs, which are energy service companies, the kind of design-build firms that do energy projects. We had 7 firms that attended the pre-bid, so very well represented. And we had 5 proposals that were received in April.
Wow.
So we ultimately shortlisted 2 firms and interviewed those. I'm going to talk about who those were and kind of a summary of our evaluation to give you the confidence that we selected the right partner. Next. The 5 proposals we did get were from Engie, who is now Optera Energy, Schneider Electric, Sizerco Energy Solutions, SiteLogic, and Willdan. Next slide. We did use a best value approach to evaluate the proposals because this was just a qualifications. And those are the categories that we had in the RFP and the evaluation criteria: the background, litigation disclosures, their project team and management structure, history and references, a big focus on a project approach. How are they going to execute the project and how would that fit within what the district needs? Funding sources, how creative could they be with funding sources and make this a positive, cash flow positive kind of a project? Additional benefits and added value, which we've already engaged with the CAPS program with our partner here. And then savings, contract, and kind of an overall response. After reviewing the proposals, we concluded that all 5 proposals were compliant with the RFP requirements. So you had 5 quality proposers. The district, and with our help, finalized the scores of each proposal and ranked the 5 ESCOs. Top 2 were selected for a shortlist interview, and Willdan was ultimately selected by the district committee, feeling that they were the best ones to meet the district's needs and would work the best with the district. Our next steps, Willdan, our selected partner, will be covering coming up next, and they will talk through the details of the next steps. But they're proceeding with what they call a preliminary investment grade audit. They're looking to develop a project with cost-effective solar and energy efficiency measures. And in parallel, we're going to work with the district and the district's legal to come up with contract form. So you'll expect to have them come back for a formal approval of a contract under Government Code 4217 for the formal award. After that, they will execute and install the contract. And I'll let Willdan cover sort of the nuts and bolts of their plan going forward. That's all I have. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Eddie Sladek from Willdan, and he's going to be providing an overview of the comprehensive energy project. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Eddie Sladek, and I'm a program manager with Willdan. Tonight, we'll be sharing information on the ongoing Comprehensive Energy Savings Project effort that Curtis just introduced. The information we would like to share includes our efforts thus far, what a comprehensive project might look like for the district, and the process to develop the project. Next slide, please. So with me tonight, we have our lead team members who will be developing the project, including Carolyn Kiesner. She leads business development in California, has her mechanical engineering degree, and is a certified energy manager. She's very involved in a lot of our projects across California, most notably our current efforts at Oakland Unified School District. We also have Brandon Rock, who will lead development and engineering for the project. He also has his mechanical engineering degree and is local to the area. His relevant project experience is Alameda County and City of South Lake Tahoe. We have Ben LeBoy, who holds his professional engineering license and a master's of science in earth systems with a concentration in energy efficiency. He was a key team member on City of Dublin project in Paramount Unified School District. Another important team member who isn't here tonight, but is our lead construction manager, Isam Rasham, has almost 30 years in construction management experience, and his project highlight is Escondido Unified School District. And a little bit more about me. I am a professional mechanical engineer, and I've also worked on various school district projects throughout California. So the takeaway here is our group has over 90 years of experience, and we're ready to help the district find energy savings and cost savings as well through this project. Next slide, please. Okay, so our process, we really start with a preliminary investment grade audit, which is where we are at today. We've already had our project kickoff meeting. We've just completed our initial site walks today. Those site walks were really a quick walk through all the facilities to see at a high level what opportunities there are for utility savings and what that project might look like. So now we're taking that information and we're putting together what we call a facility improvement measure matrix, which will identify at each school what opportunities there are. We'll also analyze your utility bills to see what you're spending, what the blended rate is. We'll bring that FIM matrix back to the district, and we'll collaboratively work through which scopes of work you want to proceed with into the investment grade audit. Up until the investment grade audit, it's a no-fee effort. It's really about defining what scopes of work we really want to focus with on a rigorous engineering process, which we call the detailed energy assessment. That next step will take 3 to 6 months, depending on the selected scope. We'll perform similarly to what's called an ASHRAE Level 3 audit, which takes another look at the facilities. We take the engineering through 30%, sometimes 60% design. And then we take those designs and we work with our preferred subcontractors and local subcontractors to get pricing information. All that is to say is to create a scope of work that we can guarantee a price and also guarantee a savings that will support the project. So that's basically the process from start to finish, from preliminary all the way through full design and funding. Next slide, please. So with our initial site walks, there is a core project that we see available at the district, and a lot of these items were already identified in the RFQ process. So solar PV canopies being number one. Number two, an LED lighting retrofit project. A lot of the campuses still have fluorescents throughout the buildings. One of the big things with fluorescents is, I believe just this year, they outlawed being able to purchase at any store to buy lights to replace those. So all the lights are going to have to go to LEDs anyways. So it's a good time to do this project as part of the solar project. Network thermostats. And then we have retro commissioning, which is basically looking at what are your temperature set points, economizer set points, schedules within your thermostats, and reverting them back to a more standardized schedule that will help save energy. So that's our core project. We like to call these really like building blocks or self-funding opportunities that can help fund other projects that are more capital intensive. These usually include things like end-of-life HVAC replacements, envelope improvements, battery energy storage systems, which can help in emergency situations. There likely will need to be electrical vehicle charging station as required by code if we are putting solar in the parking lots. And then there's also a great GK12 incentive program that's run by PG&E and administered by Willdan, where we can do direct install domestic hot water systems and pool heat pumps. So that's kind of the breadth of scope. And then the scopes we introduced, the self-funding scopes, we kind of like to introduce this topic of we have scopes of work that can save energy and pay for themselves and maybe pay for additional scopes of work. So we have this balance of, okay, what are things that are going to provide positive cash flow to the district, and can we use those funds to provide more capital intensive but slower payback items? And so we have this idea of a balance between the two. And we'll work through this balance through a lot of our workshops that we have throughout the process. Next slide, please. And then funding options. So we like to look at as many funding options as we can for the district. We're not a financial advisor, but we do go after incentives and grants and help provide information on what tax incentives are out there. So number one, most likely the largest tax benefit out here for this project is the Inflation Reduction Act for the solar project. Although I imagine the district doesn't pay taxes, there is this direct pay option where municipalities are able to take part in this up to a 40% reduction in cost for solar and battery energy storage projects. Other incentives, being in PG&E territory, I've already touched upon the GK12 program, but there's also a California Energy Design Assistance Program, which is also run by Willdan, which can help fund engineering design for decarbonization projects in large retrofits or new construction. And then there's also grants available for low carbon fuel sources that you can accrue through EV charging stations. Number four, utilities and revenues. We can take a look at your utility bills and analyze them and see if there's a different rate structure that you might want to go on. This is something that doesn't happen too frequently, but it does happen, especially on larger tariffs. And then lastly, loans and leases. There's PG&E also offers an on-bill financing program that's 0% interest. The California Energy Commission has a revolving fund that has 1% financing. Since it is a revolving fund, sometimes there are funds, sometimes there aren't. Power purchase agreements, which are pretty standard for solar projects, and then tax-exempt municipal lease purchases, which offer attractive interest rates. So all of these combined can help create a project with the most cost-effective funding, as well as something that will be budget neutral for the district. Next slide. I have two examples of projects that we've worked on in the past that I think are applicable to Morgan Hill Unified School District. The first one I'd like to introduce is Yosemite Unified School District. Myself, Carolyn, and Ben actually all worked on this project. We did district-wide solar PV canopies. We self-performed the district-wide network thermostats, which was the Pelican system, which I believe the district already has a few of these thermostats and one of the vendors they prefer. And then we also were able to do a new HVAC system for their auditorium. Previously, it didn't have any cooling in the space, so you could imagine it got very hot in there in the summer. So we were able to do some new HVAC systems that were funded by doing solar and the thermostat project. And we were also able to do some EV chargers, including some make-ready infrastructure for some of their new electric buses. One of the great things that we were able to do with them was a STEM event at the very end of our project, where we were able to do a ribbon cutting ceremony and also engage with the students to explain how the project worked, what the savings were, how solar PV works. So that was a really fun event. The last thing I'll say about this project is we really cobbled together a lot of different funding options for the district. So we were able to help them get $750,000 from CARB for the EV chargers. They were able to get a CalShape award of $450,000 for the thermostats. They're also going to be applying for the ITC credit, and they secured Net Energy Metering 2.0, which has since sunsetted. We did apply for a CEC loan and a DOE grant, which we didn't receive, but we worked with them hand in hand to apply for those. And then for the remaining of the financing, they used a tax-exempt lease purchase. So they were able to do this project with really no budget impact. And this was all a result of doing this investment grade audit process to identify the scope, identify the savings, and put that together into a comprehensive project. Next slide, please. The second school district, Escondido USD, we also did district-wide solar PV canopies across 11 sites there, so it's a very similar size district to Morgan Hill. We were also able to do HVAC and central plant upgrades, lighting controls, and EV chargers. Again, it was a creative combination of funding, ESSER funding, CalShape award, the tax-exempt lease purchase, and then they will also be going after the ITC credit. Next slide, please. Some important topics I wanted to bring up tonight. I talked a lot about ITC credits. The ITC credit for solar is going to be phased out over the next few years. There's two important dates that I want to bring up. One is July 3rd, 2026. You can safe harbor solar systems if you start construction by July 3rd, 2026 and spend 5% of the project. The other option is placing in service the solar system by December 31st, 2027. So on both these dates, we need to move relatively quickly to be able to secure this 30 to 40% tax credit that is still available. If there happens to be energy storage in the project, those credits actually don't phase out until 2033. So those are safe for the time being. Next slide. I touched upon this a little bit earlier, but California code is getting stricter on EV chargers. So if we do happen to identify solar canopies for a parking lot, likely we'll need to include some EV chargers underneath them. That was a code change of July of last year. The other option is looking at placing solar on the hardscapes where we won't need EV chargers, obviously. So I just want to bring that up as a topic. Next slide. This shows, I went through a lot of the process and the different steps that are in the investment grade audit. This lays it out in a Gantt chart of what it looks like over the 8 months, the typical 8 months a project takes to get to a construction contract. Right now, we are in the preliminary IGA phase, and our first big milestone is the decision-making matrix that identifies those scopes at the different schools and deciding what to proceed with next. And then you can see the other items that are laid out in the following months. Next slide. I think one of the best part of our jobs is student engagement. Being able to talk about a project you just spent a couple of years working on with interested students is always fun. So, we're committed to engaging the students and community however we can. We've already, with the district, have connected with CAPS. And are willing to support that any way we can. And there's other opportunities to engage the community that we can talk as a project moves forward. Next slide. Lastly, one of the biggest benefits of performance contracting is we can provide a measurement and verification program so we can accurately measure how much savings that the district is achieving with the project, and we can guarantee those savings. So if there were to be a shortfall of those savings, we'll cut you a check or remedy the situation to make sure you achieve those savings. And that can look and be in all different kinds of configuration for the project. For this project, I think solar and lighting are going to be the two biggest savings across the district. And those are actually two measures that are very easy to prove out. Solar, you can put a revenue grade meter on the production, and then lighting is just a direct difference in watts installed. So the bulk of the savings from this project is going to be very easily verifiable. I think that's it. So thank you so much for your time, and we're really looking forward to working with the district.
Thank you very much. been a passion of mine for a long time, as the staff and colleagues know. So, but before I say anything, any questions or comments from folks? Trustee Altman, please.
I'll start with a few softballs first. What is an envelope improvement?
That would basically be, so windows, roofing, insulation, would just make up the building envelope. So it could be changing out windows, adding window film, changing out roofs, those type of things.
Okay, and what is CAPS?
Oh, CAPS, Climate Action Pathways, I believe is the acronym? Yeah. Yep.
It's
Okay.
our high school program, I believe, after school with students passionate about this.
They were here and did a presentation to us, I believe, then. I just want to make sure because acronyms.
Yeah.
I can give you more acronyms than you can give me, but shall I keep going or does someone else
Go ahead, go ahead.
want to jump in?
Go ahead.
Was it ping pong?
Okay.
Just a former, okay, so thermostats.
Yep.
I think President QA is going to appreciate this comment. Question. So there's always been this running joke with teachers about the things that we can control and the things we can't control. And one thing we can't control is our thermostats. And so when you're talking about Pelican thermostats, is that like a set temperature control for the entire district where there's just absolutely, positively no changes being made? That's my first softball. So.
Yeah, I think so. With Pelican thermostats, it would give facilities the ability to remotely see what the temperature set points are and schedule them, change them. And then with that measure, we would say, hey, for these savings, we would like the thermostats to be at these temperatures. But really, it's kind of up to the district to decide how much control you want to give the individual teachers on their classrooms.
Okay, speaking as a teacher, you guys are wrong. It's too hot or it's too cold in my classroom.
Second Trustee Altman's opinion.
And that's exactly what I was going to ask about on page 12, I think it was, where you brought up, I think it's under core project, it says network thermostats. Yeah, if I were a teacher, I wouldn't want to not have control over my classroom setting because you're going to have a building that might get all afternoon sun versus one that only gets morning sun. They're going to be burning up. The other one's going to be comfortable. So is there a way that we can not have it be district-wide networked and that teachers can actually have control over those thermostats?
Yeah, I think we're open to how the district would want to proceed. I think one of the benefits to having district-wide network thermostats is you can trend data on that thermostat and see if, hey, I didn't turn on this unit early enough to provide a warm or cool classroom, or I see the temperatures getting out of whack during the day, and they can diagnose that problem and hopefully resolve it for that space.
But they'll still be wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say that's still taking it out of the hands of the teachers, which I would think as a teacher.
So, I mean, this is certainly an implementation detail that would require great care and attention. We're not here to decide that level of implement. So having them networked doesn't ipso facto say how that's going to be used. The concerns that are being raised are very real. I remember when our daughter was in first grade, as a parent, this was like 100 years ago, thinking it's always too hot or too cold. So I think it's good to highlight the issue, but now's not the time we're going to settle that one.
No, I know, but we do want to know if it's capable. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, so that's the question, if it's networked, what does that mean? How, would we have the ability to give teachers or whoever, a reasonable level of flexibility while also having monitoring to know what's going on?
Yeah, it has that capability.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's
The
be
ball's on
disciplined
my
here.
side of the net.
Who's going next here?
I'm going to frame this as I have an extensive solar system at my house. I have batteries. I drive electric cars. Okay, so you know which way I'm leaning on this. However, how much will this cost? And I'll give you two questions. And how on earth would a tax credit help a school district?
So how much it costs is to be determined with the investment grade audit and scoping and getting pricing from.
How much would that cost?
Yeah, that was one of my questions.
So the preliminary IGA, which is what we're doing now, we're identifying what the opportunities are. We're identifying rough order magnitude of costs and then rough order magnitude of savings. So you'll have a picture of what might this project look like? What might it save us? What's the return on investment? And then you can decide at that point if you would want to proceed with the detailed investment grade audit, which is when a contract for services would be signed. So up until that point, it costs nothing. And then seeing what the potential project could be and proceeding with would be then decided at that point.
Can you give us a ballpark? Like what they normally cost, like a range, or like 10,000, 20,000, 5,000?
Nah, not at this point. It's
Again,
too undefined at the moment.
We're nowhere near that point. Okay, let's be disciplined. Did anything else from Trustee Altman or Gardner?
Yeah, she
Okay,
threw
and you're not the only two that get to talk.
I know. I do have a question about the EV chargers. So you had an image of, I think it was Yosemite or another school district.
Yeah.
So are those chargers, are they charging like, is there a monetary payment that, I know that at some, I work at a community college, and at some of the sites that I work at, there is a fee when you can't just have people coming in the community and soaking up and they plug in their cars. And so are there mechanisms in place where that can be a perhaps income generating? Has that ever happened in your scope of services?
Yeah, so I think some people decide, hey, I just want these chargers for our own fleet because we have electric vehicles or fleet or staff. And then some people decide to open up to the public, and they can set a price per kilowatt hour to help fund both the electricity that's going to the EV charger, and then also for the maintenance of that EV charger and the cloud services that are likely attached to it.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Why, yes.
Trustee Altman, please. Then I'm going to go.
When Willdan does its search for free money, does this include the money that we'll be paying Willdan for their services? Question one. Question two, and this is more of a statement or for President Horner. I'm not seeing this in our long-range facilities plans, and I'm wondering how this all fits in with what's been laid in place.
Sorry, could you repeat the first question?
How do we pay you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When you said that Willdan searches for free money, I'm including, does this cover the cost of your services and pretty much everything, or is it just kind of like rebates for putting in solar panels? What's your success in terms of covering all costs totally? Because if you stick around for the next part, you'll understand my concerns.
Yeah, so I'll use solar as an example. So solar, which is eligible for the federal ITC, up to 30% of that cost. So let's say solar.
ITC is?
Investment tax credit, sorry.
Which won't help us.
Yes, it
It
does.
will.
It's weird.
Yeah.
This one is a tax credit that non-tax paying entities can receive.
So the way that would
It's
work
unusual.
is, let's say you have $1 million solar system that you install. After you install it, you would apply to ITC to get the 30 to 40% back of that $1 million. So that effort, at least identifying it in the beginning, is all part of Willdan services. The application part at the end would go through a qualified accountant or a tax advisor to help submit for that.
So that accounts for 30%?
Yeah, 30% for the
So-
solar scope of work. Right.
Okay, and so then we'd be up for 70% of the expense.
Correct. But one of the benefits of solar is over the life of the solar, it's going to produce more beneficial cost than it initially costs. And we can show that out in a sort of a business case for the district.
Okay.
So if I could respond, since you directed one of the questions to me, so to the best of my knowledge, this has not been comprehended in our facilities master plan in any way. We have been talking literally for years about our exploding utility bills and what we can do about it. So over a year ago, we asked staff, to start an RFQ process to bring forward some proposals. So this is kind of a proposal for a proposal, where this isn't the proposal we're looking at here. We're not committing to any money. This is just, so they've done the work of looking at different things and getting it this far. What it would be, all these questions are very salient, and before we would agree to sign any contracts, we'd want answers to all those questions, but we're not there. This isn't that. And yet it is peculiar. I mean, the current federal and under the Inflation Reduction Act, even though most of the consumer level stuff is phasing out this year, the non-consumer stuff has a longer runway. And it was unique in having tax credits available to people that don't pay taxes. It's unusual in the history of those things. In questions, I'm wondering if you've are familiar with Silicon Valley Clean Energy, our community choice aggregator here, and what programs they do or don't have. Is that an organization you all have dealt with yet?
I haven't personally dealt with them yet, but we do, in general, work with a lot of CCAs. One of the programs we offer is called GK12, which stands for Government and K through 12. So they partner with both PG&E, who delivers your power, and then your CCA, who generates your power, to incentivize some of the solar water heater projects or pool heat pumps that you have at 2 of your sites, I believe. So that's one of the ways the CCA can be involved. And then we can also look at if there are other benefits the CCA is willing to chip in for. But
So
not
again, perhaps we need a separate meeting. I'm also an electrical engineer and really interested in this stuff, so I could keep us all here for hours. But Silicon Valley Clean Energy is somebody we want to probably connect with. Also Valley Water, there's some interesting pieces there, and we're fortunate to have good relations with the various people at both entities. And, pitching this is not only what programs do you have, but, how can you do something as a marquee project here in South County would also be part of the pitch for figuring out how to fund this in a way that when it's all said and done, we're saving money, not spending money. That's the whole objective here. And then are you where we have some NEM2 applications in? Have you had a chance to look at whether we can still get under? That's the Net Energy Meeting 2.0, where we get back dollar for dollar, the same amount. I know there's some timelines on that I think we're in danger of running through. Have you analyzed that on our behalf?
we have seen the applications. Maybe I'll defer that question to Ben or Curtis.
We're unfortunately past the deadlines for the NEM 2.0 application, so we did have to let those lapse.
Expletive delete.
Sorry to
Okay.
deliver the bad news.
Yeah, well, it's straight up. And then we have some existing solar that was installed a long time ago, I think under a power purchase agreement. I think that's how that was funded. Is that correct for finance team? I think that was from when NG was Chevron. It's before my time.
Yeah, the projects are at the 2 high schools. And I believe it was funded through, I can't recall at this time, but I know the last payment's coming up at the coming year, so.
Yeah, so I don't know how that, if that's, its agreements are coming to an end, how that fits in with all this. Is that something we can just start benefiting from, or do we want to repower it with more modern panels? Anyhow, as part of this analysis, it's a significant investment made now 15, 20 years ago. Great stuff for the time, but it's getting old. Yeah, I'll defer the rest of my questions. Perhaps we can arrange another conversation. And anything else from my colleagues here? Sorry, before I bore everyone to tears, but very interested in the topic. Okay, then we were done with this one. Thank you very much. Look
Thank you so
forward
much.
to hearing more. Educator housing overview.
Thank you. Up next, I would like to invite Mr. Bruce Dorfman from EHP, which is also known as Educator Housing Partners, and he's going to provide an overview of workforce housing. Thank you.
Good evening. Pleased to be with you, and pleased to hear that there's been some preliminary discussion about workforce housing. We've been involved with this for 20, 25 years now, and it's great to see more school districts engaging on this topic. I'm going to give a quick overview of our company and what we've done. The majority of our business has been in the multifamily arena on the market rate side. And we've developed up and down the coast over the past, we can go to the next slide, past 35, 40 years. And our focus has been on building high quality market rate for sale and rental communities, generally urban infill, and largely focused on providing housing for young professionals with their focus being on a high quality of life. So these are highly amenitized buildings that we've been involved with over the years. About 25 years ago, we can go to the next slide, We were retained by the Santa Clara Unified School District that was facing an issue of an attrition rate that increased over 300% in the 5 preceding years before they engaged us. And it was due to the convergence of class size reduction, which you may remember, and the dot-com boom. And so their young teachers that they were bringing into Santa Clara, into Silicon Valley, were getting priced out by the young engineers. And this was having a multifold impact on them. Number one, their attrition rate increased. Number two, there was more turnover in the classroom, was having its impacts on their students. And number three, a lot of their teachers were leaving the profession altogether to work with the dot-coms, who were just looking for young, smart people. So they proceeded to move forward with a project called Casa del Maestro. And based on that experience, we created a nonprofit called Education Housing Partners. And Education Housing Partners provides our development services that we learned from the market rate business that we have, and applied it to public entities, public agencies. And we act as an advisor, not as a developer, but as an advisor to school districts and other public agencies to help them create workforce housing with the goal of recruiting and retaining teachers. These projects are generally established so that they're break even for the school districts, or they can be revenue generating depending upon the financing structure. The next 2 slides deal with process. The first part of the process that we go through once a site has been identified is we do a feasibility analysis. And the feasibility analysis provides a school district a cookbook that basically allows them to determine, the cost of the project, the size of the project, the design, a general concept of the design of the project, the site planning efforts, the schedule for going through an entitlement. Unlike other school facilities, these projects have typically gone through approvals through the local city or county, as the case may be, but not working with the DSA, which you're probably more familiar with other school facilities. And consequently, we're trying to provide a roadmap. It starts with site identification, as I mentioned. We're frequently involved with school districts to look at various sites and then to determine which is the best for this use. But upon doing that, we then identify the legal issues, zoning, and the entitlement process. This leads to a physical and market analysis where we're identifying the physical constraints. And given those 2 things, we retain a design team to come up with a concept that's reviewed by the school district to make sure it's meeting their program. We take that concept to some builders to get it priced, and we can proceed to create an economic analysis. And the economic analysis not only includes the overview of the project costs, but it also talks about the returns, what the rental rates are going to be, and the cost to get to a completed project. So the time, the cost, and schedule for an entitlement process as well as construction. Next slide. And so the construction timeline provided, or the development timeline provided a school district is just going to move forward directly, is anywhere from 24 to 42 months. The big difference there is there's been a number of laws that have been passed to expedite school districts building workforce housing. The state's trying to encourage it. They just passed a bill, AB 1021, which modified AB 2295, and AB 2295 gives a school district the right to build housing on any facility or any land that it owns, even if it's not zoned by the city for that purpose. So that was very major. 1021 has given it certain rights and expediting capabilities under CEQA. So there's 2 aspects for an approval process. One is the design review. The second is CEQA review. Between AB 2295 and AB 1021, there's, again, an expedited approach to getting approvals. So provided,
Sorry to clarify, so you
Yeah.
say these are now exempt from CEQA requirements?
provided they meet certain, the sites meet certain criteria, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, largely. There's infill
That's the
exemptions.
California environmental quality, it's a legal quagmire.
Yes, it certainly can be.
Yeah.
And there was a third bill that we've also used in the past, SB 35. And that's a bill that's open not just to school districts, but to any development. And that can, again, accelerate the entitlement process and deal with certain CEQA issues as well. But should, let me start with this slide really quickly. So on the far right or far left side, we start with the feasibility process. That could take 3 to 4 months. And that provides conceptual design. Once you have a conceptual design, should the district want to move forward, then it moves forward with a planning application, which gets to a schematic design. The city, if that is the lead agency, then would review that. There's some back and forth that occurs as it's evaluating that project from, life safety standpoint, design, code compliance and the like. And with the benefit of, again, some of this legislation that we talked about, then that approval, that project should be approved within 6 months. So it's within a year of starting this process, you can have a fully entitled and approved site. It then takes somewhere between 8 months to a year to go through design development, production of construction documents, and construction buyout, effectively, to lead to a construction start. And depending upon the scale of the project, it will take anywhere from 18 months to 30 months to build. So within 3 to 5 years, you could potentially see, or 3.5 to 5 years, you could potentially see housing. Next slide. This slide just goes through how costs ramp up. It's actually on a logarithmic scale, the y-axis, but the costs are minimal, and each one of the various points there is a go, no-go sort of decision that the school district has. The point of it is that costs really start increasing once you get through the entitlement process and you get to permitting, then they ramp up. And then obviously, once you start construction, there's got to be a major commitment by the school district. Next slide. So the the 3 elements for success that we've learned over the years is, number one, surplus land. Obviously, if you have surplus land, and I should say not from a 7-Eleven standpoint, but from a excess land standpoint, a site that you're not using to its full potential, then that's much better than having to acquire a site and pay for it. Second is, and one of the things we found, and we always thought this was the major hurdle, is it's great to have the board commitment, it's great to have administrative staff commitment. You really need somebody internally to address issues that arise and to keep the project moving forward. And we have found in working with numerous districts over the years that although there certainly has been the will, if they didn't have somebody staying on top of it, the projects didn't happen. We used to think that was the major thing, but the reality is it all comes down to financing. And the cost of developing in the Bay Area is significant, creating new housing. And so there is a number of different financing approaches. I know Dale Scott's going to discuss this in more detail in the next presentation, but there's 4 approaches that have been used by various school districts. One is issuing GO bonds. A second is issuing certificates of participation, COPs. Sometimes those are combined to finance the new construction. Third is using low-income housing tax credits, which are generally used for affordable housing in certain areas. And actually, LA Unified found this to be the case. They used the low-income housing tax credits, and the teachers didn't qualify at the income levels for the units that were built. So it's important to understand what the limitations are of using LIHTC funding. And the last approach is one that we're working on right now with the Marin County Office of Education and the County of Marin that have formed a JPA, and they are going to issue bonds to finance the development independently. The interesting thing about that structure is it silos the liabilities relative to the housing to the JPA, and none of the participants in that investment have direct liability, other than the fact that in order to reduce the interest rates on the bonds, they are opting to guarantee that the units will be occupied in order to get a rating. And so add some complications, and but there are some advantages in that situation. Next slide. So this is a little analysis of Casa del Maestro, the project that's right off of Lawrence and Homestead in Santa Clara. Again, we were retained and developed this 2000 to 2002. It was initially 40 units. The project, after 5 years, the school district did a survey of its employees and determined that teachers that lived in this community were 3 times as likely to stay with that school district during that 5-year period than teachers of similar tenure that didn't. So based upon that, they found there was an unintended and positive consequence of reducing their recruitment and retainage costs. And if they could save 2 or 3 or 4 turnover or positions a year, it inured to a benefit in the classroom relative to the studies of this and the performance of the students, as well as they were of the impression at the time that the cost of recruiting and training a teacher was close to $50,000 per position. So multiplying that by 4, they were saving $200,000 a year. So they moved forward and they increased the project by an additional 30 units in 2009. Again, it's always been very well occupied. This was strictly for certificated teachers, and it was done primarily for recruitment of younger teachers. You couldn't live there or move in if you had been with the district, I think, for over 5 years. So you had to be a young teacher or younger or newer in your career. The rents were initially somewhere between $700, this goes back to 2002, but $700 for a 1-bedroom and $1,000 for a 2-bedroom.
The good old days.
But it was still less than 50% of market.
QA is dying back there.
Yeah. Today, those rents are somewhere between $1,500 and $2,200, so they still represent a significant discount. Next. So this is the project that we're working on with the Marin County Office of Education and the County of Marin. They formed this JPA. We're building 135 units of workforce housing for them. This was on surplus land dedicated to us by the state of California. And we were selected by the state to lead this effort. And the rental rates are going to be set at the minimum to cover expenses, a reserve, and debt service on the underlying bonds. Next slide. So again, it's this same overall format that it's about recruitment and retainage of educators. Marin is another area with very high cost of living, high cost of housing. Unlike this market, it just hasn't seen, it's also been an area known for its environmental activism, and so there has been no new housing stock created of significance in the past 20 years. So the workforce really has been squeezed out. Next slide. And we're currently, all the blue school districts are ones we're currently working with. Actually, and so we're working just to the south of here with Monterey Peninsula Unified School District. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they just bought a 64-unit apartment community. They haven't yet occupied it, but it's we're going to have a lottery for occupancy next couple weeks, but they already have 250 applications to go into the lottery. So the demand is clearly very high. Next slide. And I'm available for any questions.
Very good. I'm sure we have some. I'm going to ask a couple and then I'll go around if that's okay. So this JPA structure you mentioned, when it borrows money, is that through bonds? If it's through bonds, how does that happen? Do you need the voters need to approve having bonds, or is it a different kind of a bond? And then how are the bonds repaid? You know, like if we issue general obligation bonds as a school district, they're paid by increased property taxes and people have to vote on that. So how do these JPAs get their funding?
Sure. A JPA will issue a bond. It's distinct from a GO. It's strictly funded, the repayment, the interest and repayment is funded by the project itself. So
So it's kind of a revenue bond, you know, they anticipate certain revenue.
Mortgage revenue bond.
Mortgage revenue bond. Oh, that's very intriguing.
Yeah.
And then,
and I'll mention, I mean, given, again, I don't want to get, Dale is much better versed at this, but.
he can come up and tell us what you got wrong.
And I'm sure he will. But a GO bond, if you can, we're working with a number of districts that have floated GO bonds. And the great thing about the GO bonds, as you pointed out, is the residents or households are effectively paying that through taxes. And that creates an opportunity for a school district to generate income from the housing itself, even though they're offering discounted rental rates to its residents.
Understood. Okay. I think I'll go to Trustee Altman next.
This isn't a question. I'll ask
sorry.
my questions later. This is just, GO is general obligation bond, AMI is average median income. There's been a lot of acronyms and.
Sorry.
And I can meet you, you know, I'm a special educator. I can meet you for acronyms, but just, I want to make sure everybody understands. And JP is joint powers of attorney.
Joint authority.
Sorry,
Yeah.
authority for, and so if one consideration is having it combination educator and city workforce housing, for an example. And I'll ask questions later.
Okay. Thank you. And now Trustee Gardner, you had your hand up before.
Thank you. I just had a question. I don't know if I heard you correctly. What happened in LA? You said that the teachers.
Yeah, so when LA Unified moved forward with some workforce housing, they did it with low-income housing tax credits. And low-income housing tax credits have very specific income limits for the residents of those households. So, and in order to be competitive, this has changed somewhat with the most recent bill that's been passed by the federal government. But the low-income housing tax credits used to be very challenging, and the way to improve your likelihood of getting tax credit financing was by offering deeper discounts. And by offering deeper discounts and getting the bond financing they were looking for, they were effectively committing to leasing their units at income levels that their teachers didn't qualify for.
So the teachers didn't benefit.
They did not.
In that particular project.
In that particular project.
If we were to proceed, we want to make sure not to make that mistake.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Other
Yeah,
questions?
we haven't found, I'll just add, we haven't found that low-income housing tax credits have necessarily worked for financing 100% of a project, but we're looking at it now for capitalizing a smaller percentage of some, maybe 20% of the units or 40% of the units. So you get some benefit of the low-income housing tax
I can
credit.
just comment from some of my research on this topic. Many of our employees would qualify. Many of our classified employees
staff, absolutely.
would qualify. So sometimes people address this, they'll finance some of the units with some of that kind of money, but then others with other sources so that we can meet the needs across. Other questions, comments? Trustee Munson, please.
Yeah, thank you. And not to say that, well, anyway, let me just ask my question. What happens if someone no longer works for the district? What does that look like?
So districts have handled that in different ways, but generally speaking, the concept is that if you're no longer, these are the handcuffs to work for the school district. If you leave the school district, leave their employ, generally you have to move out within 30 to 90 days, or the rental rate will go to a market rental rate. So that was a way of dealing with that.
Okay, and then in slide 29, it talked about a property manager. Yeah, is that something required, something we can do in-house, or do you have to, is that a stipulation?
It's not necessarily a stipulation, but our experience is that we would use a third-party property manager, and that third-party property manager would handle the day-to-day issues generated by an apartment, maintaining the property, dealing with landscaping issues and the like. And they would use third-party staff as opposed to using, and third-party contractors as opposed to district employees. That's
But it's not
correct.
it's not a stipulation of.
Not necessarily.
Okay, I was just curious. Let me see, I might have.
I would just note that most school district, facilities folks aren't used to maintaining.
I'm not opposed to it. I was just asking.
Other duties as assigned folks.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just asking if it was like a stipulation, but, did you say they can be income generating?
Yes, depending
how-
on the underlying financing.
Okay, what do most districts do?
There isn't a most districts. We've now worked in, as my slide showed, we have probably worked with 36 different districts, and I think in the entire state, there's only been 12 projects that have been built. So a lot of districts don't go all the way. They do an initial feasibility. Perhaps they look at, get a project entitled. But financing is a big hurdle. So, part of the initial discussion needs to be about both the delivery method, how it's going to get built, as well as how it's going to be financed.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Vice President?
Just a quick comment. Trustee Northrop Gaddis and I attended a workforce housing seminar at the last CSL. Yeah, thank you.
CSB.
And we actually, a few of us on this panel toured a site in Daly City, Emory.
Jefferson Unified, yeah.
Jefferson, yeah. And so I believe in just, I want to be really clear, and I'm only making this comment because I think sometimes in the absence of information, people make up their own narrative. So that particular site, they do have a property manager. And the idea is that you need to have a property manager to kind of keep the district out of it. We are not in the business of renting or, renting out properties. And so you have this third-party person who's just, taking and managing and all of that, and they have nothing to do with the district, and they're just reporting the revenue and taking accountability. And so I just want to be really clear because I see things in headlines. Morgan Hill Unified is not going to become property managers if we pursue this. And so, but they have different models based off of different the needs. I think the general consensus is what you're saying is it can look any way we want it to based off of the need of Morgan Hill. It doesn't necessarily need to be Santa Clara, Jefferson. Yeah. They do all these things, they're financing, but ultimately the decision's going to be made based off of what our community decides is best.
That's correct. And a big part of this is, surveying your existing faculty and staff to determine what their needs are, as well as anticipating, if this is about recruitment, anticipating what their future teachers will be looking for. In some school districts, we have created projects that have been heavily oriented towards one-bedroom units, which is due to their desire to bring in more young teachers straight from college. In other school districts, they have been focused on older faculty and staff that may have families, and we've built 3- and 4-bedroom communities for them.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. So do you have experience constructing such surveys and, you know, how to ask the questions that are most
Yes.
helpful?
We can share with you a
Okay.
survey.
And then I would say, just from my point of view, as we think about this, we need to think about all of our educators, all of our employees. You know, everyone is needed and everyone is important.
That's
So
right.
this is often discussed as teacher housing, and I'm all for that, but I know we need everybody. A lot of people, about roughly half the people that work here, you know, aren't teachers per se, and their teachers are absolutely critical and frontline. But as we go through this, we need to look at all the people that work here and what might help in what area. Please, Trustee Altman.
Going to piggyback on that. I don't know if anyone here has seen Britain Middle School after it's been rebuilt. When it was in the conceptualization stage, someone had the brilliant idea, let's put teacher housing on the 3rd floor. And teacher response was, oh gosh, no, except the word wasn't gosh.
Golly? Was it golly?
It actually had 2 toothpicks in it, and, you know, and I think it came as a really large surprise that teachers really didn't want to live on campus. And so just the general interest, that I don't see any way we could possibly proceed with anything until we talk with teachers and staff.
Yeah,
Absolutely figuring out how to also accommodate classified workers because their ability to pay is so different than the ability of certificated staff, and yet certificated staff housing is a significant part of where a paycheck ends up going. But there are so many considerations. I will get the slides sometime. It was an 8-hour workshop and a ton of information and this was a CSBA workshop, but a lot of the considerations, and there's also possibly some other possibilities. And one big question we're going to have in Morgan Hill now is because every time we blink, there's more housing going in. I'm wondering at this point, we also need to do a needs assessment. In addition to, is the community in favor? Is staff in favor? What happened, you know, like a lot of these housing developments are not full yet, and if they don't fill up, maybe we might have a already sitting there affordable housing possibility for our staff. So else maybe the district could rent a chunk. I'm throwing out an idea. This is just an example where if a unit has an empty building, teacher housing, teacher workforce, workforce housing possibly there. So we have a ton of possibilities here, and I think that everything's going to have to fit in together with paying for it, because, you know, there might be energy bills down the line or something.
As was said, financing is always the big thing. I do know from my conversations with city housing people, the affordable housing in Morgan Hill, whether it be rental or for purchase, there are 4 people in line for every unit that comes open. So I don't know if some of the $1 million plus so-called market rate housing, I don't know who's in that market anymore, but maybe some of those aren't full. But again, those are conversations for much later in the process. It's not, I think, you know, a detailed survey of all of our staff to gauge levels of interest and priority in concert with our, you know, union leadership to, you know, what are the questions and how do we get it out? That's a clear next step as we explore this topic. Any other questions or comments? Vice President, please. And then I'll come here.
I wanted to actually kind of piggyback off of Trustee Altman's comment, because I was working at the district when I think it wasn't called workforce housing. I believe the term off the record, we were calling it the teacher projects. And everybody was like, do you want it? This is what was the discussion. And it was framed in such a way that I don't want to live next to my coworker, and I don't want to. And so there was a lot of resentment. It felt like it was being forced upon us, the teachers at the time. And so I think as we have this discussion and you're presenting us with information, there's kind of a previous history of not involving key stakeholder groups and input and needs. I think the survey we got was like a Google form, very, very brief, 5 questions. And I think one of the eye-opening thing for me, and when I toured Jefferson, was that the property manager at the time had said, very rarely do the residents engage with, they're all from different sites, and they don't, there is no real, like, maybe on the first of the month when everybody gets paid, but, there's really kind of no forced socialization, I guess I'm trying to get at. It very much feels like a home, a residence.
And since that time, there are a lot of examples people can go see too.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say that it is the company town, but it's a big company. And that was when we developed the Santa Clara project, there was concern by the teachers that did they want to live next to other teachers. And again, that was strictly teacher housing. But at the end of the day, once they moved in, we did a focus group, and they determined that it was really a positive because they knew everyone else, they had this common employer, obviously, but everyone had a background check and everything else. And so consequently, the stories that we heard anecdotally were about how if they went out of town, they could give their keys to their next door neighbor and have them water their plants or feed the cat, as the case may be. And so it was a positive.
Everybody's been live scanned.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. Trustee Gardner, I think you were next. Yeah.
Just to make sure I'm kind of following along with your part in all of this, you said you're not the developer, correct?
Correct.
So you get paid by consulting fees, is that?
Yes, affirmative.
And then if we were to decide to move forward, would we get that mapped out at the beginning, or is
Yes.
it? Okay, so we'd have a understanding of what it's going to cost us, and
Absolutely.
and then what because it sounds like you go into the marketplace and tap contractors and things like that, or?
When school districts hire, we get into the delivery method, and which is subject to further conversation. But right now, we're working with the school district that we've created a conceptual plan. We're taking it through the entitlement process. The next step is an RFQ and followed by an RFP process for a design request for qualifications and a request for proposal. Once we shortlist the initial respondents, to be a design-build contractor. And through that design-build contract, the district gets a firm guaranteed maximum price, from a bonded contractor to deliver the project that was approved by them.
Any other burning questions at this point? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Great introductory conversation. We appreciate your expertise.
Okay.
Do you want to take a short stretch break before our last presentation, or people want to keep going? Keep going. Okay, I didn't hear any request for break. Mr. Chang, what's next?
Thank you, Board President. Next, I would like to invite and introduce Mr. Del Scott. And Mr. Scott is going to be providing an overview of the potential bonds and parcel tax measure that the board is considering.
Good evening. Usually I joke that when I stand up and announce that I'm going to discuss the district's bond program, I pause to allow everybody in the audience to leave, but they've already left, so.
They knew you were coming.
So you're stuck. I'm going to I'll give you just a very brief background on our firm, but then what I'm going to give you tonight is the pieces of the puzzle of putting together a bond measure or a parcel tax measure, or both at the same time. And then what are the various pieces that you have to put together? What are the questions that have to be asked? And then we'll work through a timetable. And how do you make that decision? Our firm works as financial advisor to school districts throughout the state of California. We have been around for quite some time, 35 years or so. In 2024, we had measures on the Oregon border and we had measures on the Mexican border. So we work statewide, quite a bit of work in Santa Clara County as well. I do want to make one quick note. I know there was a lot of talk about teacher staff housing. Bruce and I have worked together for many years. We actually did the first teacher staff housing project that was approved by voters, financed by voters, which was the Jefferson Project. Remarkably, only about 7 or 8 years ago, when nobody even could imagine this, and now there are 8-hour conferences about it. So it's gratifying to see it have taken off. I will say, however, that putting them together financially is very, very difficult. I've seen many and heard many proposals. I haven't seen a lot that have worked, except going to the voters and asking them to assist. So with that, let's take off. If we can go to, yes, that page, that'd be great. This is an overview of your election history on parcel tax and general obligation bonds. The really interesting piece on this, I think, is third column over from the right, the percentage yes, with the exception of the measure that you tried in March of 2020, which didn't do too well, but I'll talk about that in just a second. All of these have passed since 1998. All have achieved 55% or more. Most of them have gone over 60%. Even in difficult elections, again, March of 2020 was an anomaly. I don't mean that was an anomaly for you. I mean it was an anomaly statewide. Does anybody remember what was happening in March of 2020? No. So it was a disastrous election statewide. So you are not alone in that. Next slide, please. You still have bonds outstanding that are being paid off. I'll turn to that again later on in this presentation. But you can see that the maturities go out, if you go all the way to the right-hand side, those are going to be paid off. It's still going to take a while. We'll talk about how that might affect the future. You can also have the ability to refinance those. That's the second column. It says optional call date. We'll talk about that, maybe not tonight, but later on. Next slide, please. Now, all of these measures, be they a parcel tax or a general obligation bond, obviously have to go to the voters. And what is important about the voters? Many years ago, we were interviewing political consultants for a measure in Bakersfield for a Kern High School district. A political consultant came up to me afterwards and he said, "Dale, I think of the voters like my family." And I said, "Okay, tell me." And he said, "Well, my father's super, super conservative. He would never vote for a bond, ever, never. And he votes every election." He says, "My mother, she's conservative too, not quite as conservative. She wants to make sure that she wants to get the right information, make sure that the bond makes sense for the community and for her family. And she votes most of the time, not always, but most of the time. My sister, she's never seen a school bond she doesn't love. She'll vote for every school bond regardless of everything, but she doesn't vote very often." He says, "So here's our strategy. We're going to forget about my father. We're going to get my mother the information she needs, and we're going to figure out when my sister votes." So that's sort of what this chart is about. On the left-hand side is voter turnout in Santa Clara County. The blue are presidential elections. The dark gray are gubernatorial elections, and the light gray are primaries. You can see, if you look at the far right-hand side, November 24, compare that to November 20, there was a big difference in turnout. This is Santa Clara County, not your measure, not your district. What I find really interesting about this is look at the November 18, that's almost smack dab in the middle, it's the dark. It is almost exactly the same as the turnout of the presidential election in 2024. Why? What was happening in that election? Open gubernatorial seat, which is coming up in 26. It was also the first election in the state after the election of President Trump. Now, that turns me to the pie chart, which is the breakdown of your district in Democrats, Republicans, and decline to state. What is really interesting about this is almost exactly the registration of the state of California. It's so interesting. You are almost exactly what the state of California registration is. 45% Republicans, 45% Dems, 26% Republicans, and others. The other, okay, so why is this important? It kind of goes back to the story about the family. And again, I'm not taking sides. I'm just using it as ways to think about different voters. The Republican voter tends to be more conservative. They tend to be more fiscally conservative. They tend to be strong voters. The Democratic voters kind of split that. And the others typically fall in line with the Democrats, typically. So you have good chances here in terms of getting those people out to vote come 2026, although maybe not the primary. The next slide, please. What I wanted to show you is I went back and I looked at the K-12 bond elections in Santa Clara County in presidential and gubernatorial elections. Be it November elections, you can look over the left-hand side, November elections, or primaries. We have primaries usually in June, sometimes we have them in March, sometimes we have them in February, so presidential, gubernatorial primaries. And how did they do? This is since the year 2002 in Santa Clara County, 100% of the bond measures for K-12 districts in Santa Clara County have passed in presidential elections. I'm sorry, in November elections, not just presidential elections, presidential and gubernatorial elections, 100%. Those 52 measures, they have all passed, every one of them. In the primaries, pretty close, 88%, but the 4 that failed were in that March election, March of 2020. All 4 that failed were in March of 2020. So both the primaries and the presidential and gubernatorial elections are good for GO bonds in this county historically. The parcel tax, which is a little down, now remember, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this, I'm sure you know it, but I'll point it out anyway. General obligation bonds require 55%. Parcel tax requires 2/3. That is a big difference. It's a big difference between 55 and 67, 66.7. So again, looking at Santa Clara County in the November elections, those parcel tax from the last 20 years or so, 65% of the parcel tax on the presidential or gubernatorial elections passed. In the primaries, a little bit less, 60%. However, of those failures, the 10 that you can see there, about 60% of them were on that March 2020 date again. So parcel tax, for whatever reason, in the primaries have done pretty well in this county, frankly, if you back out those 2020, March 2020. I'm going to turn to both bond measures and parcel tax measures, but I'll pause here to see if there are any questions at this time, if that's all right with the chair.
Please.
Just a brief question. Were there districts in Santa Clara County that had both a parcel tax and a bond measure on the same ballot?
I would have to look.
Okay.
That we just actually did pass that in Pasadena, which actually has very similar demographics to this community. They were on the November 24 ballot. They had both a parcel tax and a bond measure at the same time, and they both passed. It's not often you see it, but it's not unusual.
I know in Santa Clara County, there were 1 or 2 cases last November where they put both on. It was pretty rare. But
Yes, and I think Pasadena, the year prior, they had massive layoffs, if I'm not mistaken, and I think, yes, if I'm not, yeah. They are basic.
Yeah. Sorry, please continue.
Okay, let's go to slide 8. Bond measures have to be placed before the voters on a general election date. What that means is essentially the election dates I've just discussed, presidential, the gubernatorial in November, or the primaries. Somebody called me up a few months ago and said, can we get on this this election that's coming up in November of '25? And I said, yes, but the board has to take action in 3 days. It would have worked, but it wasn't enough time. Anyway, the point of this slide is to show you, under Proposition 39, which is the constitutional amendment which dropped that rate down to 55%, they put in this thing called a tax rate limit. I make a face because it's actually not a tax rate limit. It's just called a tax rate limit. It doesn't limit the amount of tax that can be used to repay the bond if things go bad. It's just that you can't issue the bonds unless you show that under reasonable assumptions that is going to be below that tax rate limit. The tax rate limit for a unified school district is $60 per $100,000 of assessed valuation. So if we look at your assessed valuation, we say, what is a reasonable rate of growth of that assessed valuation over the next 20 or 30 years? We look at interest rates, and then we add that $60 tax rate limit, which is what this chart shows. We can then calculate what is the maximum amount, more or less, that you would be able to go to the voters and ask for. And under that scenario, it would be $342 million. That's not a recommendation, that's a limit. That's where, so if you said, we're going to keep it at $30, then it would be half. Exactly. There are some districts, by the way, that do 2 at the same time, 2 elections. So that gives them twice. That gives them not $60, but $120. Those tend to be the smaller districts to do that because they can't get enough money under that tax rate limit. So they'll actually put 2 items on the ballot at the same time. Next slide, please. However, remember at the beginning of this, I said you still have some bonds outstanding. They're still being paid off. And those prior bonds and the estimated payments are shown in the gray on this slide. So the typical property owner doesn't get their property tax bill and say, what does that new bond cost me? Or what does that old bond cost me? They say, what do those fill in the blank bonds cost me? Okay? So they're looking at the total. Now, not all voters, and I want to make this clear. And it's a little glib, but I'll say it anyway. I always tell people the voter that comes to the booth, of course, we don't go to booths anymore, so I'm dating myself, but the voter that comes to a booth with a copy of their property tax bill in their hand is a no voter. Okay? There's a lot that goes into deciding whether you're going to vote for a school bond besides just what the taxes is. It's how you feel about education, how you feel about your community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, we have to be realistic and look at this. This drives the tax rate up to roughly $100 per $100,000 of assessed valuation at the maximum. Let's turn to parcel tax. The parcel tax is much simpler. There are no bonds, there's no financing, there's no tax rate limitation. There is simply a rate that is applied to every parcel, every publicly owned parcel that has to pay taxes within the district. And that has to be a uniform rate. And what do I mean by a uniform rate? So for example, you can see here, let's take the one at the top in the middle, right in the smack dab, estimated amount of the required parcel tax, $46 up at the top. That $46 rate, if it passed, would be assessed on every piece of property within the district. It doesn't matter if that piece of property holds a 15-bedroom mansion or it is a 1-bedroom condo. It's $46 per parcel. Okay? And that would, in your case, raise $1 million. As I said, it has to be uniform. You can raise it to $227 down at the bottom, and that would produce $5 million. That's just kind of arithmetic. You'll also have the ability to do it on a square foot basis of the property. Now, the problem with that per dollar amount per unit is it's highly regressive, as I just mentioned. Some people like to try the cents per square foot, which is seen as less regressive. So the 20,000-foot mansion would pay 20 times the amount as the 1,000-foot condo. To raise that $5 million amount, it would take 14 cents per square foot.
Could I ask a clarifying question on that too? So you're talking about housing. There's also commercial, whether it's, the Shoe Palace warehouse or a little retail, shop on a corner. So does this per square foot apply just to the housing stock or to all improved buildings, whatever their purpose?
Yes, you make a very good point. The parcel tax, it doesn't have anything to do with the use of the parcel, as long as it's not a church, obviously. But the parcel tax, if it is the dollar per parcel, it is the parcel regardless of whether there is any structure on the parcel or not. It is simply the parcel. The square footage has to do with the square footage of the facility or the building that is on the parcel. Doesn't matter if it's a car showroom or a factory or a condo unit, whatever it is the amount of square footage times the cents of taxes.
Oh, so I mentioned Shoe Palace. It's a very hot button, and the biggest building in town happens to be right off 101. I don't know if it's 80 or 100,000 square feet of warehouse space. So yeah, so if this were passed, they would be paying so many cents per square foot on all of that, not just the whatever fixed dollar amount for the piece of land it's on.
Correct.
Thank you.
Also important to realize that the agricultural property in your community or the vacant property would not pay anything, regardless of how profitable that might be or how much farming they might be on this. They do not pay if it is simply raw land. One other piece about the parcel tax, which is different than a GO bond, is the district has the ability to offer an exemption to seniors. It has to be built into the language when it's passed by the board and when it's put on the ballot. And that is not an automatic exemption. The person then has to apply to the district and ask that they be removed from the rolls, and that is obviously given. So it's a little more complicated, but you do have the ability to offer a senior exemption. And there are some other exemptions as well that I won't go into, but that's the major one. Any questions about parcel tax before the timeline? Okay. So if we take all those pieces, remember we have general elections, has to be in either 26 or 28. People say, well, good heavens, why don't we wait until the presidential election in 2028? The problem with that, and it's not a bad strategy, but the problem with that is that means you don't receive funding until 2029 at the beginning. So it's a long way away. So all of this chart here is designed to go into the November ballot of 2026. And this is what typically happens, just running you through it. We do what we're doing right now, which is talking about it, trying to figure out what we want to do. Do we want to do one? Do we want to do two? Do we want to do this one or that one? Do we want to do one on the primary? Do we want to do one on the general election? What is the amount? What are the projects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We then do a voter survey, not a staff survey that was discussed, a voter survey. Only people who are registered voters and only people who are going to be voting, that's the first question of the survey. Do you plan on voting in the next election? And if they say no, they're thanked and move on to the next person, are asked the question. And it's they are very difficult to put together. They're very difficult to get accuracy on, but they are a strong indicator of your ability to go forward and which way the voters are thinking. We also get a good sense of what projects they would support, what tax rates they would support, what restrictions they might support. Teacher staff housing would be an example of one of the projects you might ask about. I would suggest that you do, if you're thinking of both a parcel tax and a bond, that you do two separate surveys. not of the same people, of different people. And then you ask them at the end of that survey, regardless of whether it's a bond or a parcel tax, you ask them at the end about how they would feel about doing a parcel tax at the same time. So you have some of that data as well as if you happen to do two at the same time. And we can make a decision whether it makes more sense to be on one ballot or to split them at that point. You can see, I've assumed in this chart that we put the parcel tax in June and the bond in November. That's just an assumption, it's not a recommendation. But if you did do that, the board would have to take action for the parcel tax no later than the first week of March of 2026. That would be if you were on the June ballot. If you were on the November ballot, be it a bond or a parcel tax, that that cutoff date is in early June of 2026. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions, any more questions.
Questions, comments? Looking for any hands? Very, very informative.
Yes, and just, you were not consulting us for the last one, correct?
He's new to us.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I did not.
Just,
You bear no responsibility for
again,
Measure I in that 39%.
For the folks watching at home who don't necessarily pay attention, to the details, I just wanted to clarify that. That was in
fair
no,
question,
yeah.
No.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none at 8:52, I say thank you very much. Okay, we have one item left on our agenda. I really appreciate that. Item I1, recommendation for expulsion of student E2526-002. No, you would have had to request that earlier on. My mistake. Please, we'll give you your 3 minutes for that. My mistake, my error. I should have recalled.
Okay, thank you again. So
I'm sorry, just
Chris
are
Robel.
you one of our families or residents here, or from, maybe, what's your overlap with our district, if you could help us
I'm
understand
a
that?
resident and a retired CFO. I live in Morgan Hill.
Okay,
And
wonderful. Thank you very much.
My fiance is a nurse in St. Louise, and
Thank you, just, yeah.
6 grandkids in the community and the district.
Appreciate
Okay.
that very much. Thank you, sir.
So now, so Morgan Hill is facing a wave of new tax proposals. I think one thing that Dale didn't mention, and you probably might not know, and it'd be interesting to ask him, I think, is what's the capacity for taxes when you have other measures? So we talked about a parcel tax and a bond together, but there's Measure A, which you guys just endorsed, the sales tax increase for this November. There's a half-cent sales tax in the 9-county Bay Area to fund MTC, Metropolitan Transportation Commission. That'll be on the ballot in November next year. The city of Morgan Hill is looking at a utility transfer tax, or a utility tax, excuse me, next year to cover their city deficit. And now you have Morgan Hill. So how much, at what point do you say enough already? The residents have a fiscal cliff, and we have enough, it all adds up. So I think before asking voters for more money, I would urge the district to take a look at, is there anything we're doing that isn't aligned with academic performance improvement? Because I think that's what most residents care about. And I think, so strong academics, excellent teachers, efficient spending, not expensive side projects. And I'm new in terms of looking at the district. I've been here for a year, but I'm trying to get up to speed and focusing on the school more. But I have heard things like, we're becoming a medical provider with 14 wellness counselors. We're looking into middle college programs. We're trying to be a landlord with workforce housing, and yes, it will be. I'm very familiar with workforce housing, the Jefferson and Redwood City and all the schools doing this. It doesn't work out nearly as well as Jefferson articulates it. So there's these are all costly distractions that focus away from the academic performance. The Band-Aid that needs to be addressed really is in your own backyard about what ed-data.org talks about. 45% of the students are not meeting state language arts standards. 34% are not only 34% are meeting state standards on math. And then you have, so anyway, I can go on. But what I want to shift to is please, if there is more money that's needed, consider the parcel tax. Do not use bonds. Bonds are horrible, and like I said, I'm an investor. I have millions of dollars myself invested in municipal bonds, okay? They're great for me, Wall Street and me. They're not good for the mainstream taxpayer. Bonds is long-term debt. It means higher property taxes for everybody. There's no exemptions for seniors, as was mentioned, people on fixed income. Renters pay it too because landlords pass the costs along. And taxpayers end up paying roughly $2 for every $1 that you, the school district, would receive because of interest and underwriting costs, et cetera. And
You can
bonds
wrap
can
up,
only be
please.
used for buildings. So, and the last thing I will say, just really quick, you can ask him. You cannot use Prop 39 bond money that has the lower 55% threshold on workforce housing legally. There's been no case that's adjudicated, and I have there are attorneys that will take that pro bono.
You can come back. You can come back next time for your next piece. Okay, we're moving on to item I1. We've discussed this in closed session as it's a student item. Do we have a motion on this expulsion item? Thank you, Trustee Munson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Andrade. Student Board Member, you're lucky to be left out of this. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Trustee Gardner's abstaining. She had to come late and miss the discussion. That's quite appropriate. So we have 6 ayes and 1 abstention. Do I have that correct? Sorry, 5? Oh.
Trustee Marquez.
I'm really bad at math tonight, and my engineer brain is failing me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm just feeling like everybody's here. Okay, very good. With that concluded, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Not at a study session. Yeah, not at a study session.